started having issues within my own group of people, meaning like management. We started having issues. And things just got to a point where I literally wasn't having fun anymore. Because then the label got out of black music. They're like, oh, guess what, guys? No more black music department.
Wow.
And I
Oh.
went, you do know you have people here that do R&B, right? Like I'm just
It's just in case you
wondering if you remember there's a lot of black music here.
forget.
Yeah, then you're a teenage girl and you're just like, I don't, here comes another president. Here comes new staff, new ideas. And and then there's problems with management. Um, I'm growing up, so I'm going through all these different physical changes, mental changes, emotional changes as a young woman. It was a lot all at once that I shut down. And when I shut down, I spiraled into a depression.
And as I said, we got a special guest today, and Miss Tracie Spencer. So excited that she has reappeared after so many years. So it's going to be great talking to Tracie about her career, about her music, about her journey, and what she's been up to because she's doing some tours and stuff. So look forward to talking to Tracie and on Halftime Chat.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see and I can hear you.
Okay.
How are you
Wasn't sure.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's
Good.
really good to be able to see you and talk to you.
Yeah, finally. We finally figured it out.
Yes, there's a picture of yourself, Shana, Elle, and Shanice that you guys took in LA just before Christmas. Or was it in
Yeah.
LA? So I'd said to myself, well, Shana was my first guest back in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then it was Shanice. Then I interviewed Elle, and I said I need to finish this picture and get all four of you. So you,
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know I knew you interviewed Shauna and Shanice. I didn't know you had interviewed Elle though. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, no, but before we start, I really want to congratulate you. Dean's List for the fall.
Yes, thank you. I'm so proud of myself because I have it was a tough decision for me to make because it's kind of like I've been on this journey of I don't know. I like to learn, right? That's kind of my thing. I like learning new things. I think that's what you should do when while you're here. We don't know all the answers to everything.
Yeah.
Um, I have other personal interests. I have a bachelor's in psychology because I was trying to help a family member who was going through a very difficult time, and or not necessarily just help them, but to better understand their journey, and then that could maybe better help them if they needed me, um, and just have a better understanding as to why people do what they do, and uh, because we all have our struggles and things like that. So for me, ever since I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want to be, in the medical field, and I also want to be a singer. Those are like the two things that I really want to do. And then my mom was like, I don't know how you're going to do both, but I'm sure you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Because mom was a nurse.
Okay.
And so it just was one of those things that before she passed in 2021, she kept saying, you should really finish um, that other dream of yours and just to do it for yourself. She's like, whether you use it or not, at least you can say, hey, I won't have any regrets and I'll do it. But that was a very tough decision to come to because after I lost my dad. It'll be 10 years ago this month.
Oh,
And losing my mom, who was literally my best friend, it was, I felt like I couldn't do it.
oh,
Like I needed them here to kind of be
motivate.
my support. Yeah. But I think they've been guiding me through all of this for sure.
I mean, how hard was it? I mean, because I've completed my third postgraduate degree in 7 years, and I retrained to be a therapist. So I finished my third postgraduate in August, and to go back to higher institution after doing finishing my bachelor's degree back in '97 was hard
Mm.
because got a family and working, and all of a sudden I had to learn. Like it was and I got diagnosed with dyslexia while doing my postgraduate, and it's like, oh, so now that's why I struggled. How hard was it
Oh,
for you to go back into school? Because I know it was hard for me just to be in a classroom submitting assignments, being critiqued for my work and having to be disciplined. So what was it like for you then?
extremely hard. I think that's why I posted on my IG about fear is kind of what pushes me, and people say you should be fearless and have no fear of things. For me, I think it's okay to have fear or be afraid of the unknown because I think that's what kind of motivates and pushes people. You know what I mean? Uh, it, I think we should challenge ourselves. Um, it was definitely the fear of the unknown because I hadn't been, I mean, even when I was recording as a teenager,
Yeah.
I wasn't in school that much because I was always on the road. So I had tutors. And when I would show up, it was like, oh, there's the girl that's hardly ever here. How are you? And that was a challenge in itself because um, I was into sports and everything, and I had to give up most of that. So, yeah, as we get older and you go back to school, it was definitely a challenge. I was completely scared out of my mind that even literally the first week I was like, I just don't think I can do this. I don't know if I want to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, is it too late to pull out now? And, thank God for my family. Everybody was like, don't do that. Like, just, it's going to be fine. We're all going to be here to support you and you can do this. And I mean, I still cry at least once a week. I'm crying, going, God, what am I doing? This is so hard. And then I'm like, okay, it's going to be fine because you realize everyone's crying.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Only
Yeah.
you
What
so
is it you're
it's
studying so people can know? I mean, because it is like what being an operating supporting doing an operating theater or something, or
no. So originally it started off as full-fledged on nursing, right? That's
okay,
kind of what I was going to do. And then the more I learned about how much nurses actually do, and this is no disrespect to nursing or nurses because my mom was in that field and worked in the emergency room.
mm,
For me, I felt like I wanted to do something that was more hands-on. And so I started thinking about physician's assistant and medical assisting. So I went the path of medical assisting, and I'm going to continue towards my PA because with medical assisting, you do tend to get to work more with closer with physicians, and I also have the opportunity to work in with specialists. So I'm kind of leaning towards oncology
okay,
right now, or cardiology, um, are two of my interests. And the fact that we get to assist in minor surgeries, and you also get to do phlebotomy, and it's kind of like hands-on training. So I get to learn a whole lot, even once I get started. So I'm kind of excited about that path.
wow, yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, as I said, it is. especially for any of us who, as I said, if you've been out of school for a long time and then trying to get back in and doing something quite different because you didn't do that for undergrad. So it's a lot more learning, isn't
It is a lot more learning.
it?
It is extremely stressful. I don't sleep well. Not anymore.
Wow. How long do you have before you think you might finish?
Um, I'll do my externship starting in June, and then I'll take the boards, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a break, at least
Okay.
with that, because for my PA, there's schools that I want to go to in California. I don't think I'm going to, or that I'm interested in. I don't. So I'm gonna. I've been exploring that to see exactly where I want to go, but most likely it'll be on the West Coast to finish the program. But
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I mean, definitely wish you luck with that because I say I know it's not easy, but it's and I think for those who are going to watch, they're going to be like, wow. So after a one career, you can actually take time and then go back in. And if she could do it, goodness, why am I procrastinating? So it's really good to be able to see and hear that it's hard, but it's rewarding as well.
it's very rewarding, and yeah, nothing's easy. And I was a to me, I think even in high school and stuff, I wasn't the best student, and I think it was because I traveled so much.
Mm.
It's not that I didn't um, want to do well. I worked hard, but I wasn't as focused because
Yeah,
I was
agree.
making, yeah, I had a whole career. So going back, yeah, that was part of the challenge too. I was like, maybe I'm just not cut out for school. Maybe this is not something I'm really like good at, and I'm not going to do well. And so no, I'm glad I made the choice to go back, because I think I would have ended up going, why didn't I go back? And you know, what would have happened if I went back? And um, we're here for such a short amount of time. I'm gonna try and challenge myself and do as much as I can um, while I'm here.
Yeah. But you did your psychology. Did you ever think about going the therapist route?
I did, and then I realized I needed a therapist. So I was like, I think I'm a good patient for someone. I don't know if I should be telling others what to do. No, that was part of it. Once I started the journey, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. And then I learned a lot about addiction. I learned a lot about, behavioral therapy. And I kept thinking, maybe this is what I really want to do. And then I realized it really wasn't. I learned a lot, and I definitely carry it with me all the time. And I think it's also helped me with going back to school right now, because you kind of can apply that stuff to the medical field, obviously dealing, with patient care. So it wasn't a waste. I actually have, once I finished, I was able to support that person that was struggling,
Mm.
and have been helpful to other friends of mine that have either dealt with addiction or um, just stuff in their life. So it was meant for me to go.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to college in Wisconsin and I studied finance and marketing, but retrained as a cognitive behavior therapist for kids. So that was and so yeah, and actually part of why I do this is because I recognized the health inequality of black mental health among our black community, and so being able to have guests talk about their ups and downs and successes helps the people watching to think, actually, as if they can get help and if they can admit challenges, it's what about us? So it's in a way trying to really promote the fact that as people of color, going to church is good, but it's not the only thing. And there's some of us that, there are other outlets to get that type of support and talking to friends, talking to professional, but making sure that it's not a white thing. It is actually a helpful thing to be able to talk about weaknesses and struggles, and then and being able to celebrate when you overcome. So, yeah.
Mhm. I agree, absolutely.
Yes. So we started backwards because I always start off because I've got an international audience, and so people would want to when they tune in, they're like, "Oh, where's everyone from?" So where were you sort of born and raised? So it gives people an idea.
I was born and raised in Waterloo, Iowa,
Okay.
which most people, even to this day, still go,
Where?
how did you get in Iowa? Like, how did that even happen? And like it's some foreign place. And it's not. It's the Midwest. I mean, I'm 4 hours away from Chicago.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, it's like you're just in the middle of everything. It's extremely beautiful here. It's quiet, very peaceful, which is great for my brain, great for my sanity. So, no, I love it. And my parents, my dad's background, he's French Canadian and Black. And so
French
his
Canadian. Wow.
French Canadian and Black, his family came from Canada. So, like,
Wow.
my grandmother came from there. My mom, she's Creole and was born and raised in Louisiana and grew up in a household where they only spoke French. And all her siblings obviously went to school to learn English. But yeah, her parents, my grandparents, never spoke any English. And my dad ended up being raised in another small town in Iowa called Marshalltown, which is about, I don't know, like an hour and a half away from Waterloo. And um, I mean, it's like a movie the way him and my mom met because my mom lost her mom when she was 15. She had a heart attack,
Wow.
and she was the second youngest out of, I gotta think. I think it was nine siblings, nine or
Wow.
10
Wow.
siblings.
Wow.
And so they all kind of, stepped in and were raising each other. And as they got older, everyone started to kind of leave and try to find another, their own path. And my mom had this dream of going into the Air Force.
Wow.
And one of her siblings was out here in Iowa, and she was traveling to come visit him. So, to make a long story short, my dad was a musician and he had a band called the Cavaliers, and they traveled all through the Midwest. He was the lead singer, and they would do like James Brown, Jackie Wilson, songs like that, and from those artists. And he even opened shows for like Jackie Wilson and Little Richard
Wow.
when he was
Wow.
younger. Yeah, my dad he started sneaking into clubs when he was 14 and singing. Yeah, that was just his thing. He just knew he wanted to be a musician. And so my mom ends up in this restaurant bar type vibe in the Midwest, and with her brother and um, I think it was his wife at the time, or fiance. My dad was performing there, and he walks up to my mom after he gets done singing, and he just said, introduced himself, and he said, "I'm going to marry you." And my mom was like, "You're crazy." And he was like, "Maybe, but I'm going to marry you." So he literally low key stalked her for several days. Like, you couldn't do that today. But you would literally, like, yeah, be considered crazy doing stuff like that now. But he pursued her for like a week while she was in town. And um I mean, she ended up going on a date with him. Um, she never went into the Air Force, never went back to Louisiana. And like 6 months later, they were married, and they
Wow.
were married for almost 50 years.
Wow.
The wildest story in the world.
Oh, goodness.
I
Did,
love it.
did they both speak French?
My dad, no. Mom
Oh,
held on to the language and would speak it occasionally in the house. And my sister and we were the only ones that tried to study it and pick up on it. And then now I'm horrible at it, and it's sad.
no, because you say your dad was French Canadian, so I just assumed they both were like bonjour, monsieur.
No, he was not speaking any French.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I thought he used his French to woo your mom, like, oh, look, man, I know French.
No. Yeah. I don't think my dad knew any French.
Yeah. Oh, is that why? Because I thought people used to say you were from Canada, and maybe that's why they connection of because your dad was Canadian. Because I just assumed you were Canadian.
Oh, yeah, no. That I've been so many things, and or people have put me in places that I've never been. But yeah, no, my background is it's it's pretty diverse, because even on my mom's side, there's some Spanish, and
Oh,
um her I want to say her dad's mom was Native American.
wow.
So yeah, it's pretty cool just to see how diverse my background is. And it's like over time we started asking more questions, because that was the one thing as a kid growing up in Iowa. There weren't many people that looked like my family in the beginning, like when I was a kid. Now
Yeah.
see a lot of people that look like me here, but in the beginning it really wasn't like that. So we all kind of started questioning like more about our background and
Yeah.
came from. As a kid, you don't really think about it as much, but as we started to get older, I started questioning, and you start realizing, goodness, like it's pretty interesting, um, just how diverse your background
Yes.
really is. Like all these different parts of you.
Yeah. I mean, especially now, a lot of people are doing the ancestry and just checking what their heritage and the makeups are. Did you ever do
Yes.
any of that DNA test to see?
No, since my mom has passed, we've talked about doing that. So that's probably something I will be doing this year too, just because I am super curious to find out.
Yeah, I mean it's a good thing. I mean, yeah, my parents are Nigerians and they were
Mm,
born and raised in Nigeria, so I know, I've gone to the village and I know my great grandfather. I know even know where the tribe immigrated from, so it's
wow.
nothing much there. But I guess it's good. A lot of Black African Americans have been also doing that to say, okay, where will we trace from and which, our lineage and heritage? Because I think as a therapist who works with kids, identity is really a massive thing. If you have a sense of identity, it's a real massive anchor to support you through a world that everyone is trying to get you to fit in somewhere. So I can understand why
Yeah.
people would like to have a sense of identity.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it's super important to know where where you come from. It's just, it's a part of who you are. I like to know all those parts.
Yeah. How was it like growing up with a
Yeah.
dad who was a singer? I mean, I don't know, was he was singing at home and then talking about I've just opened up for Little Richard and stuff, or
Um, yes. My dad, my dad's personality was massive. Um, Complete opposite, I would say, of me, because I'm definitely, I mean, people laugh when I say this, but I am more of an introvert than I am an extrovert. It's like when I need to be on or need to be out and about, and I think when I'm performing, that's when you see the other side, that other persona. But for the most part, I'm a homebody. I like to open up a book and read it, watch movies, be in my house. It is so hard to get me out the house. But once I'm out, it's great. But no, I like to be in the house. But yeah, my dad, I mean, at any given moment, he would start singing. And
Wow.
I mean, his voice was like magical that we would just be like, oh, Dad, sing that song again.
Wow.
We loved hearing him sing. And then, of course, we would all try to sing along with him, and he would teach us songs and got us a piano. And my brother, Dino, who co-wrote a bunch of songs with me, he pretty much self-taught himself how to play the piano. Um, and he would spend hours on that every day after school. But yeah, I know my dad at any given moment, he had no qualms about singing. Like, yeah, he would sing all day if he wanted to. He loved to sing all the time.
Did you pick up singing from your dad, or was your gift just natural?
Um, if my dad were to tell it, he would say it was natural because he said right away when he started to hear me sing around the house, he was like, "Yeah, she can sing. She's going to be a singer." And he also had a bar that he was running here in Waterloo. And he would bring home all of these vinyl records. So, like Tina Marie, Diana Ross, who I'm obsessed with, Stevie Wonder, like everybody. He would bring these records home, and I would go in the basement and I would play them, and I would try to memorize every lyric, every inflection,
Uh-huh.
every run, everything that like Tina Marie or Diana Ross would do. I would do that for hours. And it's so nice being in a family who enjoys music
Yeah.
because if they did not, I would have driven my parents crazy. Like everyone in the family loves music. And so my mom would let me be down in the basement for hours. Is either playing Barbies or singing with Diana Ross. Like that's all I would do.
Oh, and I guess that's it. I mean, but was there part of your dad to teach you then? Because I don't know. I don't play instruments and stuff, so I don't know. As a parent, then does he think, "Oh, can let me help you and play with you and nurture the voice"?
He did when he realized it was something that I really wanted to do. The more time I spent, like he never forced us to do anything. He wasn't that
Mhm.
type of parent. Neither one of my parents were like that. Like, go down there and practice and, critiquing us. It was like organic.
Mm.
It was let's see where it goes. Um, for my mom, she just liked us to be involved in things. So we were all in gymnastics, played basketball. I was in ballet, which was hilarious. And track, like they kept us busy, but my go-to was always singing. So after a while, my dad was like, he would sit in the basement with me and then go over certain notes, or if I was struggling with a note or a run, he would teach me how to push that note out. And then he started having or like telling people in the community, like, oh, I have this daughter, you want her to come sing at your church? And I'm like, what are you doing? I don't want to sing at people's churches. And I ended up doing like weddings when I was 8, 9 years old, and
Wow.
it was hilarious. um yeah, he was just all of a sudden like promoting me through the town of saying, hey, I have this daughter, you guys got to hear her sing. And then I would be like, okay, and I would just sing for people. um but yeah, it'd be church functions, someone having a little party or a gathering, and I show up and sing. And yeah,
Would you get
it
paid
was,
for it, or was it just a freebie? Or
I wasn't getting paid. No, it
okay.
was free.
But was
And
it more so for him to try and get you to be confident singing and in front of others, or what was the motive behind that?
I think I think it was more, he was just really proud. My dad was just that
Mm,
parent that was so proud of his kids
yeah.
that if we excelled at something or had some type of talent, he would just like to, he wanted everyone to know how proud he was of his
Okay.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very sweet, very cute. But we didn't, it's not like we knew that was preparing me to get on Star Search or
Mm,
even record deal. Those were dreams, but being a girl from Iowa and being a, a girl of color from Iowa,
yeah.
I was thinking, I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this and that. And then I was just like, girl, you are in Iowa.
Yeah.
Going nowhere right now. So
So for those who are watching from around the world, you know, everyone is thinking, well, either you're in New York or in LA. The Midwest pretty much now we talk about people talk about Atlanta, but back in the day, it was pretty much New York, LA. So being in the Midwest, it's pretty much yeah, far from anything. So I can imagine how far that dream might
yeah,
seem, like Dorothy in Kansas. It just seems so far away from everything.
absolutely. I felt like Dorothy in Kansas. I was like, unless a tornado hits, I ain't getting out of
But then,
here. Not gonna happen.
what instrument did your dad play?
He could play the drums, but he was all about being a vocalist. That was
Oh, so it wasn't like he played the keyboard or guitar and you'd sing with him.
no. He was the lead singer of his band, and yeah, that was his thing.
Did you
Yeah.
ever sing with the band?
Did I
Yeah.
with
Did
his
you
band?
ever?
No,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
no. Because when he was doing that, I wasn't even born.
Oh.
And by the time I was born, it was very late in the game. I was the very last one to show up. And they're like, oh, there's another one. Like, great. I mean, my mom kept saying she wanted four kids, but
Okay.
my other siblings are closer in age. And then um, she was hopeful that she was going to get her fourth, and she did.
Oh.
But time I was born, it was becoming harder for my dad to just be on the road because my mom was working in a hospital and
Oh, as a nurse, yeah.
raising three kids.
Mm.
Um, so he started doing that less and less, um, and then tried to work regular jobs. And
Oh,
that's
okay.
very tough for musicians
Mm.
because that's been his whole life was surrounded by music. So that's when him and my mom kind of talked about, hey, when I get into the bar business, then I can have still be a part of that life and have people come down and perform and be in that environment. Because my dad's just he's a social butterfly. He, he's got to be like, you know, he's that guy. So that worked out for him. He loved doing that. And so, yeah, I would go down to the bar though, and as a little girl, and help him clean it. And then I would sing around the bar when there was nobody there, obviously. Um, and I loved it. I loved that my dad had a bar and
Yeah.
that there were records, and I loved the smell of a bar, I, energy of it. I was just like, this is awesome. It was pretty cool.
Then, I mean, with all that going on, was there anyone who had made it, other than Michael Jackson, that you could look up to and says, well, they've made it. I've got somebody to sort of, as a sense of, well, if she could have made it, I could make it. Was there anyone that, like yourself, that's not in the music industry as a child, that you could look to as inspiration?
Um, Funny enough, there weren't really. a lot of, outside of Michael Jackson, who started really young, that I obviously admired and looked up to. For me, I was very much into old Hollywood stuff. So pictures I would look at, or people that I would emulate at home, and movies I would watch, were everything from Marilyn Monroe to Josephine Baker.
Oh.
Um, I was inspired by those type of women because not just the physical beauty of them, but all the obstacles that they had to overcome.
Mm.
And they were such strong women, and I was just like, I'm gonna be like, Josephine Baker. I'm gonna be like these women. And I loved Billie Holiday and um, Diana Ross. Yeah, like I said, I was obsessed with her. That when I would come home from school, I would take my hair out of braids, and I would be in the mirror. And the bigger my hair was, I was like, this is. I want to be like her. And I would have my dad had bought me a microphone, and I would be down there in like my mom's, you know, it could be an oversized black shirt, and I would make it into a, and I was like singing Diana Ross.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, absolutely obsessed with those women. Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna be like them.
For those of us who, because I think when Star Search came out, I was probably in Nigeria or still back in England, and I guess it's equivalent to today's American Idol or X Factor or America's Got Talent. How
Yeah.
big was it back in the day? For those of us who probably don't know about Star Search, back in when before you audition, was it massive, or was it just for kids, or what was it?
Star Search was, yeah, exactly like what X Factor and those programs are today for everyone. That was all we had. It was that type of um, show where people showcased everything. I mean, they didn't just do music. I remember at one point they had like an acting portion on there. Then they had the folks model, they had comedians. Like, yeah, people were obsessed with Star Search. And I just remember we would watch it as a family.
Mhm.
And obviously, even then, I didn't know how possible it was for me to get on that show. And at that point, my dad had all these different relationships with so many different people in the community, that one guy, this guy named Jeff Isaacs, who, bless his heart, he passed a few years ago. Um, but he had a studio in his home. And so my dad started bringing my brother Dino and myself over there, and we would like write songs. He would help us lay these tracks, and I would just start recording things.
Wow.
Still not with the intention of, we had a real plan. My like, we're gonna take these demos, we're going to a record label, and like, it wasn't even like that. It was, for me, it was it was just fun. Like, I had so much fun doing it. I would do it after school because my mom was just like, when she's done with other activities, yes, you can go play at the studio. You can record songs, whatever. And my dad would sit there and, coach me through it. And we took it very seriously, but it was a lot of fun. And then it got to a point where I had a few songs, and we're still watching Star Search, and my dad's like, "You're gonna get on Star Search," and we're
Wow.
like, "Yeah." Right. I was like, "Dad, that is like dream the impossible dream." There's Star Search, and the next thing I know, my dad's like runs into this guy who was my first manager from Kansas City. He actually ran into my dad, or hearing him perform somewhere in a club somewhere, and was interested in him
Okay.
as a. And this guy, my first manager, Stan, he actually had managed the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. So like these 70s groups
Okay.
were huge. And Steely Dan, like he was
Wow.
involved in their careers. And then he also had like this coffee house, and Steve Martin in the beginning of his career used to go there and do stand up.
Okay.
So he was well connected, but when he met my dad, he was like, "Oh my gosh, your voice is amazing. Like you need to be recording." My dad said, "Nope, but I know someone that you would be interested in." He's like, "I don't think it's for me anymore, but I know, but I have someone that I'd like you to meet." And he's like, "Who?" He's like, "Well, it's one of my kids." And he's like, "Oh, so she's like 20, 25 years old?" My dad's like, "She's 10." He's like,
It's dead.
"Excuse me?" Yeah, she's 10. He's like, "What am I supposed to do with the 10-year-old?" My dad's like, "You listen to her voice, you'll understand." And he played him the demo, and then he was like very impressed. And he was like, "Okay, well, let me at least meet her and let me figure this out." And so he met me, and then we all talked about, he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "I want to be on Star Search. Like, let's start there. If you can make that happen, let's do." And yeah, we sent in my demo. I even created a video that I started calling like the local libraries to see if I could utilize their facilities to shoot like a video with friends and
Okay.
some family. And it became this, so it just became this whole thing where we were then trying to find songs, which is now it's easy to do that. You can find a whole lot of karaoke style songs,
Okay.
internet, and sing to. I was limited. There was Missing You by Diana Ross. It had to be a Diana Ross song. At least
Okay.
I found an instrumental to that. And then Do Me Baby, Melissa Morgan, the Prince song.
Hmm.
Um, and How Will I Know? Because at that point I was falling in love with Whitney
Wait a
Houston.
minute.
So so I performed those three songs in the basement of a library,
Oh,
and I sent that video into Star Search. And that's how I got on Star Search, because then they sent me a letter back and they were like, "We'd like to have you on our show." And I couldn't believe it. I was like, "There's no way I'm about to get on a plane and go to like go to Hollywood and be on Star Search. Like, what?" That was a lot.
wow. I mean, what was it like? I mean, getting the letter though, I mean, did you think that's it? Dream's over. I've got the dream I wanted, or was it a big celebration?
I didn't even know. It was very overwhelming.
Mm,
It felt like, you still feel like you're in a dream.
yeah.
It's just hard to believe because you're still going, "Oh my God, like really?" They actually opened
What?
up my package and they watched my video. Like, what? So it was very hard to wrap my little brain around that, and my family. No one could believe that was happening. So
Wow.
it was surreal.
Did you become an instant star locally once they see you on TV?
Um, it felt well, my dad had a lot to do with that because he would always do too much.
Too
He
much.
did too much. He obviously, with him having a bar and being, the social butterfly he was, that he was always telling everybody, like, "My daughter's going to be on Star Search and we're going to California and all this stuff." And we went out there. We even it was my first time going to Disneyland. Like, we
Oh,
planned this whole trip, and it was crazy. So yeah, no, after it came on, we, went to the local newspaper, talked to the local news station, and they ended up putting it on the news like, local girl. gets on Star Search, and so everyone in the community start hearing about it so that they could watch it. And it felt like everyone watched it because every time I
Wow.
went somewhere, they're like, "We saw you on Star Search," and you know, it was wild. Like, good luck because I was. The nice thing is I was on towards the end of the season,
Okay.
so I didn't have to start at the beginning and try to beat out
Oh,
a
yeah.
whole lot of people. I was at the very tail end, so it was really competing against Allison Porter, um, who was in Curly Sue, the actress, and
Okay.
we were both at the end of the season, and then when we kept tying, we had to go challenge a third contestant, and then that's how I ended up winning because then I essentially beat both of them out and won. So yeah, it was nerve wracking though.
How was this
Completely.
like the Ed McMahon? Or was it?
It was Ed McMahon, yeah.
What was it like? I mean, he's on TV, he's a legend, sort of his, and I see he seemed very warm to the contestants, especially kids. But what was it like seeing him, the legend as he was back?
Oh, it was wild. It's like he was the sweetest person in the world. He was so kind. He's like a gentle giant because he was as tall as my dad and um yeah, just the nicest man. I was so excited to meet him. And even in my parents' home, my mom blew up this massive photograph of me and McMahon and my dad from Star Search.
Wow.
And yeah, it was very cool.
So
Yeah.
you're winning a national competition like that. As a family, you think that's it, we've made it, Hollywood, or what goes for you when you win? What happens? Do the phones ring or?
That's really what happened. You come back and I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna go back to school and just be a normal kid. And literally after it aired and I won, um, I started getting all kinds of phone calls, and they were all from record labels.
Wow.
So yeah, it was everything from CBS Records at the time, and then it was Capitol. Um, I'm trying to think, Columbia Records. Um, yeah, it was like several different record companies. They were all calling, and then they were saying, "Hey, we'd like, to fly you out and audition for the labels." And once again, when I sit here now and I think about that, it's pretty wild because things are done so differently now that I think it was a lot scarier then because it to get a deal was based on so many different parameters. Like, to get an actual record deal, it was, you had to do like jump through hoops to get
Mm.
a record deal. And at that age, even I mean, at that point I was 11 years old. Labels were interested, but at the same time they were like, well, what are we going to do with an 11-year-old? Like, that was always the thing. How do you market an
Yeah.
11-year-old female without making her hypersexualized or um trying to like develop the artist
Mm.
so that she continues to grow with her audience and people watch the evolution of this artist.
Mm.
That was part of the challenge. um so when I went, to Capitol, and I went to Studio A, which is like, the studio where the Beatles performed.
Mm.
Billie Holiday sang in that studio. And so I literally thought I was going to pass out when I walked in there. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is my life right now. Couldn't imagine. I was just like, this can't be happening. And I sang in the studio in front of these executives, and they were just like, super impressed. And so then it became the battle of who's going to get this young girl, who's she going to sign to, and who's going to have the better deal. And um, at that point, for me, it was I didn't really know who I was or what type of artist I wanted to be.
Mm.
I knew who inspired me, but I also knew I couldn't go around and um, be Diana Ross at 11 years old. Like, I don't know if that would have read well or how that would have come off, how people would have perceived that. So it was tough. It was definitely tough in the beginning trying to figure out how where do I fit in and how do we do this. And at that time I'd heard of Shanice being signed to her
Oh,
label as well, and they were holding on to her because they weren't sure how to, I think, market her in the beginning too. It was just like, what do you do with these young girls?
oh,
It's different now, but yeah, at that time it was the labels were run by so many men. Everyone I
yeah,
was surrounded by were mostly men. I didn't encounter too many women in the beginning when I was signed. So yeah, you have all these men trying to make decisions for a child.
yeah.
And like, I don't know what I would have, right? I just want to like sing.
Yeah. Whose idea was it to sign with Capital? Because you had your manager, you had your dad. I mean, why did they choose Capital? Why did they accept Capital?
Capital was the most persistent.
Okay.
And for me, it was the history. I just kept thinking about all of the rich history of Capitol Records and all the talent that had walked through those doors. And I wanted my name to be a part of that.
Wow.
So you think of the Beatles or you think of Billie Holiday, then it's like, and then there's Tracie Spencer. Like, I was like, if I can be in that group,
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it. And they did have it. They, worked really hard into creating a really great or like bringing a really great offer to the table because in the beginning, yeah, they really really believed in me and they were like, we're really going to try and see if we can make this happen. We want to do this. So yeah.
I think I think one of the things that I had learned a lot from a lot of the artists from the 90s was the signing without knowing the fine print of the business side. Um, Being that Capital were very persistent with signing you and you had a manager and your dad around, were you guys giving a better business deal, or did were they just said sign here and you just like 10 years later like what did we just sign? How was it at that stage?
um Thankfully, no, that I didn't look back and go, oh my god, like they totally screwed me. No, I did right away get a really good attorney to come in. um
I said you or your parent? I mean, because you're just 11, so I'm just wondering when you said I got
Oh, yeah, no, that would be my parents doing.
okay.
I mean, we would have these discussions because obviously I didn't know, but they also they would never do anything or have these discussions without including me because they
Okay.
wanted me to know
And learn,
that
yeah.
part of it and to, yeah, exactly, and to learn about the business side of the music business. Obviously at 11, part of that, I wasn't that interested in the business side.
Okay.
I was just like, yeah, okay, let's just sign something, like do this. But my dad was like, no, it's not that simple. So yeah, no, I do remember that there was a lot of negotiating going back and forth for a while. It was not
Okay.
a one and done deal. Um, Always leaving an option for me to get out if
Okay.
for whatever reasons, like not to feel for me to be trapped
Right.
into a contract, and always going into after so many years or after each album, being able to renegotiate into a new deal, that whole thing. So yeah, no, I definitely, people can say a lot of negative things about record labels, and granted, Capitol definitely had their ups and downs because I think I went through so many different presidents while I was there.
Yeah.
Before putting an album, in the middle of an album, it'd be like, oh, by the way, there's a new president of your label. I
Yeah.
just started to like this guy. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
They come in with a new agenda
Yeah.
and, new thoughts, wanting it to you because they want to put their stamp on it. So they're like,
Yeah.
we're not going to do it there. We're going to do it this way. So that wasn't a joy
Yeah.
going through that. But yeah, they never made me feel trapped, is
Okay.
what, yeah.
You mentioned when you were young being able to write songs, and I know you wrote stuff with your brother. Did you get the opportunity to sign a separate publishing deal with Capital or EMI or something or someone else?
Yes, through EMI. And then um obviously we were part of the ASCAP family, and I'm still part of ASCAP. And then I entered into another publishing deal later on, much, much later on. But yeah, all of this stuff was very new to us. Like I didn't know what an ASCAP was. I didn't know what a public deal was. Like all of the things that you had to learn. I was just like, so you just don't sing? Like
Yeah.
we just don't go in a studio and make records? No, ma'am, it's not all you do. So,
Yeah, but you're
so
very fortunate though, because 90% of other artists that came along didn't have mom and dad, and they signed production deals who took everything, and then even Jodeci, they were like, yeah, we're so popular, but we don't see any money, and then
yeah,
and I when I spoke to Shanice, she mentioned because her mom knew the industry and stuff, she got her fair deal. But then that also puts you on a disadvantage because they're like, oh man, we can't make money off of this person. And so they're not as keen to promote you. But it felt as if you got because they were so eager to get you, you sort of got things fine and they were looking forward to your success at the
yeah,
beginning.
they definitely were. As I continued to get older, um, yeah, then it you do run into those instances where people were just like, oh my God, her family is everywhere. I can't in that circle. Like it's very hard to try to pull her away from there, and you know, and create other situations. So no, I was grateful that my family was always around me. It just, as I got older, then things you start to break away from that, because then I started feeling like I really wanted to um, be my own person. I wanted to see how much of this I could do, on my own, outside of my family. I wanted to, I mean, that goes with getting older, like you go through that. But then that's also with that, there's a lot of risk involved because there's a lot of scary people in this industry. So
Yeah.
that's when it gets kind of weird. But in the beginning, I was truly, truly, truly grateful that my dad was always with me. He would travel with me. My mom would travel with me too. Like they would split it up,
Okay.
so she could have an opportunity to go places with me too. But for the most part, yeah, my dad went everywhere with me especially when I was touring. Yeah.
How was it like recording a debut album and because you're singing at home now you're signed to a label in Capitol's famous recording studios and now I don't know if there's pressure or is it fun just oh yeah we're gonna record your album. I mean, how did that feel like?
I didn't feel any pressure. There was like nervous energy because it's just all this excitement and the unknown. I didn't know what the process was going to be like. Um, so I was just excited. Um, yes, like I the on the first album I worked out of Ray Parker Jr. Studios
Oh,
and got to meet him, Americana Studios, which was like it's historical.
is that
And
Jimi Hendrix Studios or?
um
Okay, no, maybe not. No, no,
no,
his was something lady. Yeah, gosh,
yeah, yeah, no. Um, but everyone had worked out of Ray Parker Jr.'s studio. Like everybody and their mama had been there. I was spending lots of time in that studio, and that's where I learned that you don't go in and you sing one time and you get to go home. Like no one told me you'd be there for hours. And I was like, oh my God, this is a job. It's a real job. It's everything was started to take place. It was like you go into the studio, you're laying down tracks, and at that point, that's when people were stacking vocals. So
Hmm,
you would literally do a gazillion tracks of a gazillion vocals and a gazillion notes, and they go
wow.
through and pick the ones they like. So yeah, I would be singing 4 hours. It wasn't a matter of auto tuning and things like that.
Pro Tools. Yeah,
Pro Tools, you had to do the work. If you messed up a note, it wasn't, it's okay, I'll fix it in the
yeah,
mix.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you go back out there and you have to fix it yourself. And with that came a lot of discipline though, as a vocalist and a recording artist. So I'm glad I was a part of that.
Hmm.
And yeah, then I worked with Seth Riggs,
Oh, the
vocal coach
famous
for
vocal coach, Michael Jackson and
the
the rest.
world famous, yes, Michael Jackson vocal coach, everybody's vocal coach. So I remember going to his house and doing vocal lessons. I would do that. Then I was still in school, um, dance studios. It was a lot. My days were consumed, but um, I was having the time of my life. Like I loved every minute of it.
Had you moved to LA or so, or are you still back in Iowa?
Now, and that was the thing we were trying to decide because everyone, even the label, was like, she should be in a performing arts school out in California. And I was like, I don't want to leave my friends. Like, I don't want to do that. And I didn't want my mom to have to give up her job either to move to Iowa. Like, none of that part didn't sound good to me. I was like, I don't think I want to move. So then the label said, well, you're at least going to have to get a place out here so that you can spend more time to record because I couldn't really record at home. It's not like we had a whole bunch of studios. Now there's
Yeah,
a million studios, and at that time there really weren't.
yeah.
So yeah, we end up getting a place, and that was around the time that my sister was graduating from high school. So she was like, I want to move out to California. And she was going to fashion and merchandising school. And she also became a stylist and worked on music videos.
Wow.
Um, so we lived together. And
Okay.
then my brother, who wrote songs with me, he moved out. And so we ended up having a spot. So they would stay there and then I would just come back and forth. And at least I was
Okay.
like, I go there and my siblings are here.
To look after you.
So yeah, it was kind of nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But how long? Because when you go back to Iowa, do people realize you're recording an album or videos out, or can you just walk the streets without people taking your autograph? Or,
You know what's funny? And I think that's the charm of being in the Midwest or living in Iowa because most people knew who we were anyway. I mean, I grew up in a very small community that when I would come home, I was literally the same. I went to Catholic school. I put on my uniform, I'd go to school, and I was the same. I was just a kid. I felt like I wasn't any different.
hmm,
And even though everyone else looked at me kind of differently, but then um, they adjusted and it became like, oh, it's just Tracie. Like
Okay.
she's annoying and normal. Like I wasn't walking around like, I'm this diva. Like it was never like that. I was a tomboy. I was in Catholic school. I would go home and still play with my Barbies. I'd go roller skating. I'd ride my bike around and I was just a normal kid.
Wow. By the time you were coming out, had Stacey Lazarus all come out and Tracy's already come, sorry, Tracy, Shanice and, you know,
Mhm.
had they come out? So it was almost like, okay, we kind of, it wasn't just you as a young artist. Had that happened or were you one of the first to come out?
Um, God, that's hard to tell. I want to say no, Stacey Ladisaw was before
Okay.
me and Shawnee's. Yeah, she was before us. I don't remember how old she was. I thought she was like maybe 15 or 16 or something when
Okay,
she
so
first.
slightly older. So okay. So,
Yeah. And me and Shawnee's were the youngest. We're a few years apart. Um, and yeah, then you had Debbie Gibson
Debbie
and Tiff
Gibson,
that.
Tiffany. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that was
Okay.
our little crew of young.
Yeah, of young girls. But then on the male side, were there any bo young boys that were around? Because
You had not right at the beginning, but I do remember it might have been by my second album when you had like High Five and
oh, but you had the boys
Te-
back in those. What about
the
the boy?
boys. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the boys, and I went on tour with them. Oh my, yes, the
Okay.
boys. Loved them. They were so sweet. Yeah, I went on tour with them because we did a tour. It was me, the boys, and then I met Albie Sure at that time and did a show. And yeah, yeah, there were more. Oh, and then there were New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, but they were a little bit older. I mean, we're talking about
They
6,
were
17,
old.
18. Yeah, because you came out, it was
Yeah,
11 or 12. That's still, still quite young
absolutely
to,
young. Yeah, between me and the boys because they had
yeah, they were,
Bilal, I think was like 10 or
yeah.
something. He was the youngest in the group. And yeah, but not many, there were definitely not many females that who were 11 and 12 that I was meeting or on the road with. No, there was
Now,
not a lot.
yeah, no, yeah, as I said, yeah, as I said, that you guys were with the Trailblazers. But then I mean, when your self-titled album comes out, was there an expectation from Capitol, like, okay, you need to go gold or platinum, or was it just like, let's put it out there, see how it goes, and then we'll go back to the drawing board?
It was very much like that. They were hopeful. They put a lot of money into just the record itself and the videos. They wanted to make sure everything was, it was like top tier. Like we're gonna put everything we can into this project for people to take it seriously because they knew it was going to be a challenge trying to market a child. They just
You
weren't
saying a
sure.
child.
Like a toddler. Like how
Yeah.
do you who wants to buy a toddler album? So it was a challenge. It definitely was a challenge, but it was fast. It was fun because once I got on the road, then you had all these young girls who were so excited because they were like they were just like, oh my God, like she can do this, we can do this. And or here's like this young girl that's not, that seems like a pretty normal kid who's just out there living her dream,
Yeah.
having fun. And so that was truly exciting. But I still think there were still some of its challenges because I also had an adult audience who were into my music because the first album also had big ballads on it,
Mm.
which drew a different group of people. And I think some people felt some kind of way where they're just like, oh, I'm a huge, like, I really like this girl, but she's four. Like, this is weird. I mean, a 4-year-old's record, like, this is weird. But then it became normal after a while, I think people realized, because that was, we were, we were always trying to do our best, even with the label and with management and my parents, to make sure I stayed looking like
Okay.
a young.
Yeah. Even though the songs might have been a little bit more mature, but
Yeah, because we didn't want to do bubblegum pop songs. We wanted people to know that, she's not just here, you know, for a minute. We want everyone to grow with her. We want you to know that she actually is an actual singer. And so, yeah, you had to throw those types of songs in there to show people that I wasn't just a little kid.
well, you had new edition, Pop
Yeah,
Candy Girl. I thought they could have thought, oh, that's a nice little bubblegum type of music that could have been around the time you came out.
I think it's easier though. It's always different with between guys
Yeah,
and girls. We get viewed differently.
yeah,
More of a challenge when you're a female artist.
yeah.
I think you get judged more.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it is hard because then who are the boys running to the shows and as to, are the fan males as opposed to the boys who would have lots of girls who tend to be the fans. You can sort of find an audience and market to them as a label, I would imagine. So,
Yeah.
um, did was there disappointment from Capitol with the sales and and performance of the debut album? Or did they just say, well, we've learned our lessons, we'll move forward? Or how did they receive that? And did you know any differently?
Um, I think they were happy with the way things went, and they were glad to see that I was able to get mainstream success, that things worked well overseas, because I ended up doing a tour overseas on the first album. So I think there were a lot of surprises that they just weren't sure, because they really didn't know. They went into
Hmm.
it going, we want to make this happen. We just don't know how it's going to happen. So let's just, take a gamble and see. And so, yeah, that took me into the next album. And at that point, I had a new president. So that's kind of how it all began. And going into that record, it had its challenges, because at that point, I was 13, going on 14 when I started putting that record together.
Okay.
And that's when I started writing. And that's where Tender Kisses um, came from, writing that with my brother. And that album to me was more experimental, because I still wasn't like, I wasn't 18. So we couldn't be like, okay, well, now she's 18. She went from
Yeah.
11 to 18. It's a huge time of growth and a lot of different experiences. It was only, a couple years later.
Mm.
So I was still in high school. And so we just really weren't sure the direction to go in. And I just remember Hal Milgram at the time, who was the president, him coming to my brother and me, and him going, "Hey, I have an idea." And we're like, "What's the idea?" And he goes, "Do you guys want to A&R your own album?"
What?
Exactly.
It's like, what?
I
What?
was like, um, come again? I was like, I know nothing about doing that. I'm like, so you're telling me go find my own producers, find my own songs? Like, you want me to figure out the creative direction of this project at 14 years old? And he's like, yeah, I believe you can do this. He was like, make the record you want to make. And I was scared out of my mind, because I had no clue of where to begin or what to do. And I just remember, okay, he gave me some. It's not like he walked into the office and said that weird and went home and like had a cocktail. It wasn't that. He was like, "Here's a budget. Um, here's your staff. Like, we're here to support you, but you can make the record that you want to make."
Oh,
And yeah, so immediately we went to work. My brother did his thing and he started, we were always getting submissions. It wasn't like this task of trying to find people.
okay.
For me, I kind of had this thing where, there's a lot of talented producers and writers that were well known or whatever. I kind of looked at it as there's also the, people who never get an opportunity. And I kind of looked at myself as that, the girl from Iowa that by chance I was blessed enough to be on Star Search and get a huge deal with a major label. That doesn't happen every day.
Mm.
Like someone gave me that opportunity. So we started looking at writers and producers that were just like songs that maybe nobody else would even think about listening to or you know um so yeah, we started like digging through like boxes of like that were being sent to the label of like people who were just like, hey, I want to submit a song to Tracie Spencer. We would listen to all these songs. Some of them were up and coming producers that had produced other projects already, but no one still knew who they really, really were yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, and it's funny because people have asked me, would you do it differently if you went back to that second album? And I would say absolutely not, because it was a big album for me. And Tender Kisses was a huge song for me, off of that album. So no, I would never do anything differently. I was even in charge of the artwork of the direction I wanted to go in.
But then this house was charted on the Billboard 100, which was much higher than
Yeah,
Tender Kisses.
yeah.
Um, but it doesn't seem to get as much play as Tender Kisses seems to be your signature song.
I feel like that. It's funny. It's um even when I was on tour with that album performing it, it would always be, yeah, This House and Tender Kisses. Those obviously were two very big songs for me on that album.
And Save Your Love.
Um, there's yes, and Save Your Love. Um, but I think Tender Kisses just became like that signature song where people just associate Tracie Spencer with Tender Kisses. It was just a signature ballad, classic R&B song. This house, um, when I did a lot of spring breaks and it was really, really big in the gay community.
Oh, okay.
Like I had because I had so many different remixes of this house that doing spring breaks and all these like clubs um during that time and had a huge following, um you know even in New York or in Miami in the gay community. And that was new for me because I grew up in Iowa. So, and so yeah, and it's funny because it opened. I learned a lot. That second album, I learned a lot. I saw a lot, and had so many amazing experiences. But yeah, I felt like different groups of people gravitated towards that record because there were a lot of pop songs on there, a lot of dance songs, and then you had the R&B side. So it was kind of split in the middle. I would do different shows and it would be a different group of people here, and I'd go somewhere else and do, Tender Kisses, Love Me, those songs, and it'd be a whole different type. And it was wild. It was nice to see though, because I felt like I was when you do music, I obviously don't do music for the masses, for people. You do what makes you feel good,
Yeah.
and you hope that that resonates with the rest of the world. And I could see that with the second album. I felt like that's what I felt my music was doing, because I tried to do music that just made people feel good.
Yeah. Was there no temptation to get an Ellie and Babyface or Jimmy and Terry Lewis or Teddy Riley because they always were known for hits like they did just Down My Heart for the Boys and Janet Jackson's Control. So was there no temptation to say, well, let me just get them to do one or two tracks on my sec debut on my sophomore album and then have others, or did you look at your budget and think if we get one of them, it might skew the whole budget, so we need to stay? I don't know.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, I obviously, who wasn't or isn't a huge fan of Babyface or, you know,
Jimmy and Terry.
Jimmy and Terry, like seriously, and Teddy Riley. Obviously, I was a huge fan of all of these producers, and I don't know. I think because it was my sophomore album, and I really wanted to just experiment,
Mm,
because I felt like, what if I never get this opportunity again? Like, I didn't know. It's like you really don't. I wasn't. I'm very much a realist, like when it comes to just life in general, and so I know that the music industry can be a funny place, and
mm.
like people love you today, and then they're just like, whatever with you tomorrow, and you learn that early on, and so I just felt like they're throwing money. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. I'm like having fun
Mm,
and see what happens and learn from it. I wanted it
yeah.
to be yeah, there was enough money for me to go to a Babyface. There was definitely
Oh,
money. If I would have went to the label and said, I want Babyface to do half my album, and Babyface was like, sure, I'll do it, I think it would have been fine. It would have been fine. They they Capital believed in me. I
wow.
felt like that much. And um I just feel like, because there was so much internal conflict in the label, that if there wasn't that much internal conflict, things would have probably played out differently too. But I went through, I was kind of an artist at a label that just, you know, there was just so much going on. People were losing jobs left and right, people leaving the company, people unhappy at the company, lots of drama in that label. But I would still call and be like, I'm still here, right, guys?
I
Still got a
mean,
budget, right? Okay, thank you.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
what was
all right.
and that was really sad because there was because here in the UK we had EMI and of course then you had
Mhm.
the big six back in the day and then they started merging and they thought about they was trying to make money, so it just meant labels were just chopping and black
Yeah,
music departments seem to have taken the brunt of that. Even though the 90s was a booming time for R&B, but they just really just took the hit from that. Then how
yeah.
then do you've got a really good album out, you've got three big singles that are going out there, and then there's Of He Will behind you. How do are you just going on tour promoting the album and hoping that things would clear up by the time you're ready to do album number three, or what goes through your mind?
You do hope that things will start to balance themselves out, and you're just like, um hoping things get a little bit better and a little bit easier, and they don't, for the most part.
And they don't.
You can be hopeful, and that's kind of when I was started having issues within my own group. of people, meaning like management, we started having issues. And things just got to a point where I literally wasn't having fun anymore. Because then the label got out of black music. They're like, oh, guess what, guys? No more black music department.
Wow.
And I
Oh.
went, you do know you have people here that do R&B, right? Like I'm just
Just in case you
wondering if you remember there's a lot of black music here.
forget.
Yes, I do pop, but I
Wow.
also music. So um I just it's so funny because there's part of me I think that, it suppressed a lot of stuff during that period, towards the end of the second album, and um that I just have like these flashes where I just remember walking into the label and going to the floors that housed urban music and then being empty.
Wow.
It was like a ghost town. Lights were off, literally. And that's a weird experience and a weird feeling. And then you're a teenage girl and you're just like, I don't, here comes another president. Here comes new staff, new ideas. And and then there's problems with management. Um, I'm growing up, so I'm going through all these different physical changes, mental changes, emotional changes as a young woman. It was a lot all at once that I shut down. And when I shut down, I spiraled into a depression. And I just remember being in California and not leaving my room for 2 weeks and not communicating with anyone. I checked out and I could feel it coming. It's like
Mm.
you feel like you're on the brink of something bad is about to happen. And I thought I could get ahead of it, or just, you ignore it. You
Yeah.
think like, I'm going to be fine. No, then you wake up one day and you literally physically can't get out of bed. And I didn't know what that was. Then I didn't know it was depression. Um, and I just remember my brother becoming very concerned very fast and telling my parents like something's really wrong. And my dad flew out and literally got me out of bed and said, "You're going home." And that that was a pivotal point for me because um it's funny because it's weird to talk about because I don't talk about it. It's not something that I share with a lot of people. And I think it's one of those things that most of the world doesn't know about me, that I went through something like that. But I feel like it's something I need to share with people just because um, it's a part of my story, and it's kind of how I've gotten from there to where I am now. Those types of going through that experience. But yeah, I remember coming back home, and I even had like agoraphobia for a little while. I couldn't go anywhere. The plane ride home, let me tell you,
Oh, yeah.
that was next to impossible.
Oh.
It was unbearable. I had a panic attack in the airport. I had to wear like a hoodie because I just needed to feel like I was closed in. I didn't want people looking at me. Um, it was literally a nightmare. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I was horrified as to what was happening to me. And I just remember going home and, you know, the first thing my mom did was just hold me, like she hugged me forever. And it was the best feeling in the world, but without even speaking, she knew that that's what I needed at that time. And should I have gone to a doctor? Should I have gotten a therapist then? Probably, but um my family just protected me. I stayed home. I remember my dad calling the label and saying, or calling my attorney and saying, as of right now, she's not doing anything. Don't care what commitments there are. Like you deal with it. But my daughter's health is more important than anything right now. And I was only home for like a month or two. And then I remember saying, I think I'm ready to go back and deal with things. And at that point, there was money that needed to be owed back to the label. There were a lot of commitments that I just didn't uphold on my side because I was spiraling. I was
Mm.
becoming very unhappy and I couldn't do the work. And I was just like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Like, this is stupid. I don't want, like, this is insanity. Like, I'm not having fun. And I've said this before. My mom always would say that to me. And she said, the minute you're not having fun at doing anything, you stop.
Mm.
Like, don't torture yourself. Don't feel like you need to do something because other people expect you to do it. Whatever needs to be dealt with, we'll figure it out.
Mm.
So I just remember, right now at the top of my head, because I can't really remember who the president of the label was at the time. Um, but I remember getting on a private jet, going to New York with my dad to have a meeting with the label and walking into the office and I remember him just saying, how can we make you happy? What can we do? Because we don't want you to leave, but you are under a contract, young lady. And when they put you on a private jet and have you
Yeah.
go to a secret location, to an office you've never been to
Wow.
before,
Wow.
where they have like literally a waitress coming and bringing you food and drinks, and you're like, this is like, what? Very surreal that, and it's just you and your dad. Um, my dad's comment was, we tear up the contract, we start a new deal. She owes nothing. We go in with a clean slate, and she goes back into the studio. My dad said that. I didn't say that. I was just sitting there, like, not having really anything to say because I still didn't. I just was so confused by everything. I was like, this is now it's become, now I'm seeing what the music industry really is all about.
Mm.
Like, that's what I felt like. It went from, oh, it's fun and games. You get in hair and makeup, you have fun, you shoot expensive videos, and you travel the world and meet cool people. Now is in a position where reality had settled in and you realize it was a business. A label is a bank and you're a commodity, like, you know what I mean? And you're
Yeah.
like, it is what it is. It's not all fun and games.
Mm.
And um, I just remember us shaking hands, and that contract was ripped up and gone. And
Mm.
I didn't owe them anything. And we started off fresh
Without a
and
lawyer there. Wow.
without a lawyer.
Wow.
Yeah, I would never advise that to anyone now. But
Yeah.
my dad was a big guy.
Okay. Okay.
People were scared of my dad, and my dad scared of no one.
Mm.
because I was his child
Yeah.
and he would do anything to protect me. So he didn't care who these people were. Um, if you hurt, it was in my dad's mentality has always been, you hurt my kid, I hurt you. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
deal with me. That's my dad. And yeah, they agreed to our terms. And I thought, well, I'm going to leave and everything's going to be fine again. And it got that much harder because that's when I went back into the studio again. I always felt like I had an unlimited budget because it wasn't hard to ask for something. Um, and I rarely heard no, as you know, but I didn't ask for like crazy, crazy stuff. I wanted to work. So I wasn't like asking for like wild stuff. I was just like, hey, I want to work with this person. Can we make it happen? Or how do we do this?
Yeah.
Um, and it, they would help, we'd work out these deals. But I ended up working, with people from Queen Latifah's camp. I went to New York and demoed some songs, and then I ended up as like a few songs, and then a couple of upcoming songwriters and producers. Then I even ended up going into a deal with Dallas Austin and spent a lot of time in Atlanta working on an entire project. And these were projects that ended up getting shelved. But however, recently I found out that they've been leaked on YouTube and
Yeah. Was that the album Natural or something like that?
Naturel's on there. And then there's another project that has been released too online. Um, but yeah, so I was working. It wasn't that I wasn't working. I was doing that. And then I was also doing soundtracks
Mhm.
um,
Good
for
Burger and
A Smile Like Yours,
there's a
Down in the
Delta
Delta.
down the Delta, yeah.
Hmm.
What,
So
was it did Family Matters help Tender Kisses sort of become bigger, being appearing on Family Matters? Did that also
um,
was that
oh, of course. TGI Fridays when Friday nights when you had Full House and all of those
yeah, yeah,
shows
yeah.
and everybody was watching those shows at the end of the week. Definitely that helped a lot because that was a huge, huge show. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was great for that experience too. That was so much fun.
I mean, being asked to be part of that as was that nerve-wracking? Did turning to some mini acting?
No, because it's funny when you're around peers, like, people your own age, um, you they kind of like being around Darius and the rest of the cast, like they made it more fun and less about it being work.
Yeah.
So they were I would just remember them saying like just have fun, like you can't take it seriously, just be you and have fun. So yeah, I loved it. That was a good time.
But because the your sophomore album came out was what let me try and see now. I think it was 90, yeah, it was actually about 91.
Yeah, don't
Um
ask me to add with dates.
no, yeah, it was actually 91. No, well, 91 is when the singles came out. No, so the album Make a Difference came out in 1990, and then you were releasing Tender Kisses 91, 92, but we
Yeah.
didn't get It's All About You until 99. You were
Hmm.
saying within that 8 year time span, you recorded two albums, one with
Pretty
Dallas
much.
Austin, and then one with people like in Flavor Units Camp.
Yeah. And there were songs with other songwriters and producers in the middle of that. I had a lot of music.
Wow.
There were a lot, yeah, that people may never, well, maybe they'll hear them one day, but yeah, there were a lot of songs. Yeah.
Well, you said, was it because you finished one album, you hand it into Capitol, and they've got a new president that says, "Oh, I didn't authorize this. Can we?" go back, or what happened when you've, completed
Well,
enough?
you get new A&R, you get new marketing, you get new everything. And it was just a lot of it. I think they were trying to buy time because
That,
there was so much drama within the label that it was just like it's not ready yet. Or let's
ah,
try that. Let's keep recording. And I always feel like when people tell you to do that, it's because they're not ready to put it out. They don't really there's stuff going on that I don't need to know about or
yeah,
that.
yeah, because
So I would do the work,
ah.
because I wanted to stay busy. So I felt like, okay, I'll keep recording as long as you guys keep giving me money.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. So it's cheaper to pay for you to just record, but they were merging with they were merging with different labels all coming together, and I would
Yeah,
assume the money to release and promote an album would have affected mergers, so they would have just said, yeah, just stay at the background, so we don't have to go in for that whole.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's cheaper just to keep, yeah, you're right. It's cheaper to keep you just go record something. Yeah.
You missed a massive because the 90s was massive when it came to R&B. I mean, you had, Jade, SWV, you had everyone just blowing up, and it was R&B, was massive. And at the peak of that, we didn't hear from you. I mean, apart from for a few soundtracks. I mean, how was that like? Just, how did that feel like personally, just being not allowed to take advantage of the fact that everyone was out there making music and R&B was really well received?
It was, well, there was this internal struggle because part of me, yeah, I felt like I was missing out on a lot because I was like, I really like recording's great, but I'm like, you start to you get burnt out too.
Mhm.
And I was becoming exhausted and things, some songs I was like, these are great. Other things I was like, what? This isn't the direction I want to go in. And you just are like, I want to get back out there. And then the other part of me was you start getting all kinds of people saying, just get out of your contract, leave the label, go somewhere else. It's not like you can't get another deal, sign a production deal with someone. And I think I could have done all of those things, but it's again, at that point, it's like being in a relationship.
Mhm.
They were the first label to
Mhm.
sign me. I was a 11-year-old girl and I'd been through so much with them that
Yeah,
it was hard to go, I'm just going to leave them. It was that feeling of that fear,
yeah,
but I couldn't jump all in. I wasn't that much of a daredevil that I thought, yeah, I'm going to leave and I'm going to get me another deal somewhere else. I kept thinking, what if I leave and I'm knocking on these other labels' doors and they're like, but we got such and such and such and such. So you're going to be on the back burner.
mm,
Because at that point, there was an explosion of more female artists or female
yeah,
groups, TLC and everybody,
yeah,
like you
yeah,
said,
yeah,
that I thought I'm going to get lost in the mix. I won't be so unique there. I was still unique at Capitol because there weren't a bunch of Tracie Spencers.
yeah,
And so, yeah, you just like, what do you do? Do you stick it out? They're not kicking me off the label.
mm,
It's like, it was like a safe space.
yeah,
I felt like, well, I'm kind of safe here because no one's, they're not letting me go. They're just saying, hey, here's some more money. Go sing some, go record some songs.
Well, are they giving you a salary? I mean, how do are you getting a
No,
sal?
it was just, it wasn't even that. I did do pretty well from like touring and um so no, they would give, obviously they would take care of me if I needed to go somewhere and be like when I went to Atlanta, I think I was there for over a month. all expenses were paid. None of that came out of my pocket, like staying where I was staying or travel or anything like that. So I can't talk too bad about Capitol Records because
No, 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 yeah.
they they treated me well for a very long time. Now they had their issues, and there were other issues going on at that company too, certain people, but um, for the most part, I know they believed in me, and they just, they didn't know what to do after a while. They just, but they knew, but I knew, they didn't want to let me go. So it wasn't until, I decided I think I just want to go, and that was, kind of after the last album.
Yeah, but were you able to, during that 7 hours, years, were you able to go on tour?
No, I did shows here and there, but could I have? Yes. Could I have done more touring? Could I have gone overseas and probably stayed for a few months and just did a bunch of shows and racked up a whole lot of money? Yeah. Did I do that? No, I did not. I didn't, it was, to be honest, it was just a very weird time because, like I said, I had spent a big portion of my life growing up in the music industry. And then I was evolving into a young woman
Mm.
and having all of these other experiences and then trying to figure out how to, be a businesswoman in this industry, trying to separate myself from my family because I wanted to um, be more in control of my career, getting new management. Like it was a lot of stuff going on. And then at the same time, I was starting to get burnt out.
Yeah. Because it sound like Janet recording control. You know, my father, which he trying to like, okay, I'm going to take control of my decision and and go my own direction. Or, how I'm from a close family. How does that work? Where you're trying to, because your parents and family have always been there. How do you then try and become your own person without them feeling like you're hurting them?
The funny thing is they didn't feel like that. The relationship I had with my parents was probably different from a lot of, with the exception of like maybe Shanice and her mom.
Mm.
I think Shanice can probably relate more um, to the type of relationship or that dynamic between her and her mom and me and my dad. Um, we just, my dad knew that I was getting older, and he had, my mom would be like, she's becoming an adult. She's a grown woman now. Like you're gonna kind of have to let her figure things out on her own. And there was that part of me who was like, I really need to see if I can do this
Mm.
with, still I know that they'll always be there, but not with me 24/7. Like, can I do this? Can I just deal with management on my own? Can I be this businesswoman and figure this stuff out? And then you realize as soon as you start to separate from family, that's kind of when vultures come in.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
put it nicely or lightly, the game changes. And then it becomes survival of the fittest, or just how do you keep your sanity, and what's right, what's wrong, who do you trust? And then you learn you trust no one at a certain point. You just go, lesson learned, trust no one. But,
Mm.
you know, it
Mm.
kind of gets like that. It gets
Me-
weird.
Are you able to, um, are your brothers not around? Your older sister, really, are you separating from them as well?
Yeah, Dino and I. he started kind of going on to his own journey, and I really won't speak on him because that's his story to tell,
Mhm.
and I don't want to talk about his business unless, you know, I have permission to. I won't do that to my brother, but we kind of grew apart basically. And my sister at that point, yeah, she got out of the industry. She was doing fashion and doing, working on videos and stuff. And then she transitioned and went back to school to San Francisco State University and became a school teacher.
Wow.
So her life completely,
Changed.
and she's still a teacher. She's a
Mhm.
special ed teacher, and which is wonderful. She's great at what she does. But yeah, everybody just, we were all getting older. Everybody was just kind of doing their own thing, and you do start to grow apart. You think that I think many people kind of thought that, oh, me and my brother will be connected forever.
Because your songwriting partners and everything.
Yeah. But we kind of grew apart in that sense.
Mm.
We're very close now. Like we've gotten closer again, but it was just a point where we were just growing apart. He was going a different path, I was going a different path, and then I was also very um I was still very frustrated with the industry because you have a love-hate relationship with the music industry.
Yeah.
I think everybody who's in it, does.
Yeah, no, especially for females, because I remember speaking to Nikki Howard, and she was saying how much harder it is for females for in the industry to deal with a lot and the respect and you spoke about um capital being full of men who were trying to decide how to decide a career of a 11-year-old child. Then you're 21, 22-year-old woman, and the industry is still full of men who have different motives and without not as things have changed right now to some degree, but just imagine going and we can't imagine how hard it is to navigate the industry of being in LA at that stage. Um, and as I said, no one can know how things are. Um,
Mm,
what then happens when Ray Lott comes into Capitol and decides, okay, let's record. It's all about you.
mm.
What was happening? Were you just recording your 200th song, and he says, "Oh, we're gonna try and put an album out for you." And you put what? Did you? How was that?
Well, initially, that's what my response was. Like, I loved Roy Lott. I thought he was so cool. I mean, I liked Gary Gersh too, who was the president before Roy Lott. He just had a lot of obstacles and a lot of challenges he had to deal with. But
Mm.
Roy Lott came in and he just, his thing was, I'm gonna restore faith back into
Yeah, so seven
again.
years. You
Yeah,
brought me out of the cave.
yeah, I'm like, good luck, bro. Good luck with that. And he had a plan. He had a plan. He had a budget. He had a plan. He said, this is how we're going to do it, and that's, because he was the one who brought up Soul Shock and Carlin and said, I think they should be the ones to help you put this album together. And he was like, let's get back to work and get this album out. And I was like, am I really going to put a record out? Like, is it really going to happen this time? And he's like, it's really going to happen this time. He's like, I promise it's gonna happen. So I do I think it's funny, like when Soul Shock and I were talking recently, I think he puts it best where and part of me doesn't remember certain things, but when he first met me, how he just said that he could tell I was done.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever, push record, people. let me just sing this song. I was very much like that. And it's funny because a lot of stuff I don't remember because I really was just kind of like a robot. I was just going through the motions.
Mm,
I was
yeah,
literally burnt. Yeah.
yeah, because he said that yeah, that you just weren't really there. And Carlin was the one who sort of brought in the humor and really tried to build that trust and restore the trust. But it felt as if you'd been so much burnt that, yeah, here we go again, another 2 years of doing this and be told it's not going to happen. Um,
Hmm.
but when the things turn around, did you have to build trust with them to be able to say, okay, I'm going to take the process a lot seriously, or what made you, what gave you the faith to really put your all in the album?
Um, I think like what Soshak said, it's like me and Carlin clicked our personalities. I mean, I clicked with both of them really well because my personality is I don't like to take myself too seriously. I want to have fun, but I want to do the work. And they're very much like that. Cracking jokes, we just I think it didn't take too long before literally I felt comfortable being around them and realizing that they're like, hey, look, this is another opportunity to get an album out and for you to do your thing and show people that you have staying power and that you are a real artist. So let's just get to work. Let's just do this, but at the same time have fun. So we experimented with ideas, and I just remember being in the studio all the time with them, and we would just record until we got it right. And they made it more of a pleasurable experience again and reminded me that yeah, it's a music business, but when you're recording music, you should be having fun because you
Mm,
want that to translate into your vocals. And when people listen to it, that they're like, oh, you can tell this was a fun project to put together. And um, yeah, so they instantly became like family because we were spending so much time together. Yeah.
how much of the things you'd done over the past 7 years were you able to bring into the project, or was it like whatever I'd done the last 7 years, just throw it up in the bin,
No,
everything's all
none of
new?
that. None of that was really a part of that project.
Wow,
We started from scratch as far as I remember. Yeah, yeah.
wow. Did you get back into writing on the album, or was it pretty much, yeah, whatever you do, I'm just singing along? Were you able to go
No,
back
I
to?
was writing on that album too. Yeah, because like I'll Be There For You, I co-wrote with Carlin and Peter Beaker, who is also Danish, from Denmark. Um, gosh, my brain is so bad. I can't remember
It's fine,
what's
it's
on
fine.
that.
But you got back into writing and stuff.
I did. I found my voice again to do that. And so appreciate, or I owe that to them too, because I, you know, had shut down so much that I wasn't really writing either. So,
Mm.
yeah.
I mean, then you're releasing videos. How did you think It's All About You got received when you look back?
I remember many people's reactions being really positive because um, I think people were waiting for and a young woman now. It's like we've seen the kid now. Who is she going to become? Like, what type of adult is she going to become? What will the transition be like? And I think it was a good transition for me, that record, because again, I I've always tried my best not to be hypersexualized. Like there's it I'm fine. People can do whatever they want.
Mm.
Like I don't judge anybody on what they do or whatever. I'm comfortable in my skin. Um, just like the next, woman. But for me, it's just I still want it. I really wanted people to still take or to really focus on the music and me as a vocalist. So I was trying to fit in, yes, I'm now this woman, but then there's still these other parts of me because I'm still, a tomboy at heart too. And I think there's a lot of sides, a lot of different sides to me. I can be very soft, I can be very edgy. Not everybody gets to see all these different sides of me either. So I
Mm.
was trying to find that balance in this album and then continue to grow from there. Um, but little did I know that after that album, then I was like, I'm done with this. you know, I just don't think there'll be another album right away, at least not with this, with Capital anymore, because it just had gotten so frustrating. But
But
yeah.
when you came out in 99, 2000, the industry changed so much,
Mhm.
we, you came out in the 80s where, you could wear a dress like Phyllis Harman or Patti LaBelle and, Luther, suits. By the time you came out in the 90s, it was almost striptease singers, in fact, we weren't looking for singers, we were looking for models who could just lip sync. I mean, that was so to come
Yeah.
out and you said not you've always been a sense of not being overly sexualized, but that was what labels were pushing and hype
Hmm.
women's videos. So it must have been like, wow, you must have been in hibernation and coming out and realized, well, this is not the industry I remembered. It must have been hard
Yeah.
to try and get that album pushed and trying to be yourself.
Yeah. Like I said, it was definitely a challenge. Because only I was only willing to go so far. I never wanted anyone to push me out of my comfort zone. And it was becoming to that point where it was like everyone was showing more skin, and not that I personally had a problem with it. I was just like, that's not really what I want to do. That's just not what I want to do. But yeah, the label would push for it. I remember even in It's All About You, and even though the shots are very fast and brief, I was wearing like a bandeau top and like itty bitty shorts, and I'm like straddling Datari Turner, who was the model in the video. And that was out of my comfort zone. That was definitely, but I did it and was like, that's as far as we go, people. Like
Wow.
that's as far as I'm gonna take it, because I just didn't want that to be the focus. I just and like
Yeah.
I said, not that I'm fine in my own skin. I don't have a problem with you know with stuff like that. It's just at that point I still feel like I had a lot to prove. I wasn't gonna go from like, okay, now I'm just gonna bear all and this is who I am. Like, no, you're gonna get it in bits and pieces. And I think, you know, and still trying to be me at the same time. Like I still felt like people didn't know who I was.
Mm.
And I was still trying to get people to go, oh, that's who Tracie Spencer is. It's hard to try to do that when you're 11, 12, 13, 14, when you're still in that box. But now I was like, okay, now I'm 21, 22. So now I can start revealing other parts of my personality and who I am.
And so after the album, and then you did your videos, did you have a conversation with Ray and said, what, I think I can continue, or or did they say, yeah, look, we've put some money in it, it didn't work, so we're dropping you. What happened?
Well, that's the thing. The album was successful. When I go back, I really think there were other singles on that album. Things just, again, internal conflicts at the label, management issues, uh, that things just weren't being executed the way they should. We started running out of time, and um, I was frustrated, and the longer time went by and I did shows and did some touring with that album, I was just like, I think this relationship has come to an end. Like, I think it's
Wow.
time for us to break up. you know? I felt like me and Capital needed to break up. And yeah, and that was the thing too. It wasn't hard letting me go or to leave to get out of my contract. None of that. Like, I will always say I've been blessed
Mm.
with the deals I made with that label, and then getting out of my contract and leaving. It could have been much more difficult,
Yeah.
or worse, a more difficult experience. But no, I left and I took a break. I just was like, because in the middle of all that too, I had signed, I had, before starting that album, I had signed with Next Modeling Agency. I was doing some modeling. I did, walk a few runways for
Wow.
like Chanel and other, Tommy Hilfiger. I was doing stuff like that. Um, but after leaving, I just felt like here's a time where I just need to just detach myself from everything
Mm.
and figure out who I am and what I really want.
And so did
A
you
lot of that's a bad idea. I had more people tell me that's a horrible idea. You can kill your career that way. And I thought, you know what? But I'm losing my mind, so
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
either I got to do what's best for me.
Because people fight to get into the industry and you're in there and you're trying to come out and for most people it's like, well, what are you doing? I mean, I'll kill to be you, but without realizing that you could die being you if you don't get out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You you can go and burn yourself completely out to the point of you lose yourself. Um, it's an industry where so many people either try to take advantage of I mean, drugs, alcohol, that's everywhere.
Mm.
Um, and at some point, some people fall into those traps in order to maintain or to survive.
Mm.
And I just knew for my own sanity that it could either end badly,
Mm.
or I do the right thing and walk away from it all and just try to figure stuff out
Mm.
the right way, like like step back from it, look at it from a different perspective, figure it out. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, um, I'll have to see. I don't know. I didn't know, but I knew I didn't think too hard about it because I needed to maintain my sanity. I was like, I don't want to be depressed anymore. I don't want to go through that again. And
Mm.
yeah.
Did you move back to Iowa then, or did you just stay in LA for a while?
Um, what did I do? No, I did. I do. After that album. No, I was in LA. Oh yeah, I was in LA for a while. Yeah. I was dating, good relationships, bad relationships. I was living a normal life. I did traveling. I did a lot of stuff like that. I was trying to just I was on the search of trying to find myself.
Mhm.
And I felt like I couldn't do it being in the industry. I felt like I was going to lose myself or was losing myself being in it. I needed to get out for a minute.
But being outside of it and all these relationships and things, how do you then decide, how do you decide how to make sure that you're getting the right balance? I would have thought staying in LA was probably part of the problem because everyone's trying to get in and it's a rat race. So were you okay just living in LA and not being a performer?
I was okay. I was okay with being in LA, not being a performer because it wasn't like I wasn't doing any work. I was still sometimes like having writing sessions, doing
Okay.
stuff like that. Um, Literally though, just exploring life and just trying to do normal stuff. And then I had my sister who, was living out in California, and spending more time with her,
Okay.
spending with my family, coming home more often because it got to a point where I wasn't even coming home as often as I used to, and spending time with my parents. At that point, my oldest brother was starting his family. So I was coming home and babysitting and spending time with his, doing normal stuff. And it was what I really needed. I
Hmm.
needed to do it. It's like I could tell it's what I needed to do. I really did. And traveling, just kind of doing whatever I wanted to do and didn't have to answer to anybody, or have any expectations
Hmm.
put on me. And then you start to see um, more people coming out doing music, and then you start to feel like, oh, I think I miss it a little bit. That that uh that that sensation where you're just like, oh, I think I kind of miss it. And then you start running into people who are just like, why aren't you singing? Why aren't you doing that? And then you're
Mm.
like, oh, it's not as easy as you think it is, or it's not a short story. Like,
Yeah.
you sit down and let me make you a few cocktails to explain to you some of the stuff. And, you know, there, I mean, there's things that, you and I haven't even, talked about. There's things that I probably won't talk about that I endured or experienced in the industry. That might be for a book at some point. But, but, um, yeah, I think getting out when I did was probably the best decision I ever made. Yeah.
But when did you decide to leave California? What triggered that?
What kind of triggered that was um my at one point, being that me and my mom were so close, her wanting me to come home even more often than I was. And I just remember coming home one Christmas, and I said, you know what, mom, I'll stay longer than just through Christmas. Like, how about I stay for a few months? And my mom's always like, you guys can, like, all her kids, all of you can stay here forever. Like, you don't ever have to go nowhere. Like, she's like that. She loves having her kids around. And I was like, well, I'm not going to stay forever, and I was in a relationship at the time too. And, but I said, I'll stay for a little bit. And it might have been, I don't know, it was like a couple months later that my dad started not doing well. He was having these weird pains, and um, I remember us making two trips to the ER. And the second trip, they called the following morning and said, you guys need to go to the cancer center and meet with this doctor. And it's like when someone calls you and tells you that in the morning, it doesn't really
Mm.
process. You're just like, cancer center. doctor's name. What time? Okay. That's kind of how my mom took the message. And she woke me up and said, we got to take your dad to the cancer clinic in a couple hours. So get dressed. And I'm like, does she even know what she just said to me? Like,
Mhm.
that doesn't make sense. So after going, them doing a biopsy and my dad being diagnosed with um, AML, leukemia,
Wow.
um, everything changed for me then. And I made a conscious decision to, I had to decide, what am I going to do? Because my mom, um, that's her life partner. And I could just, that the day we got the results back and the look in her eyes, I just knew she was not going to be able to do this by herself. And I immediately, which has always kind of been my personality too, something clicked in. I said, I got to figure this out. And the people can call it convenient or that, oh, well, it's just that it worked out that way. I hadn't started a family of my own. So it was kind of easier for me to make that decision of leave where I'm at and move back home and help, you know, my mom and dad. So at first I was kind of going back and forth. And then I made the decision where I said, I need to be here. And, and they had kind of told us that, you know, my dad would probably have 12 months. And I just remember yeah, I would take him to chemo during the week, a couple times during the week. But it's funny because as hard as that's to talk about too, because this is the month that my dad passed. Um, the best memories I have during that time was he loved Bruno Mars. And we get in the car and we would play Bruno Mars to chemo every time and sing along to Bruno Mars going and leaving chemo. And we did that the entire 12 months. It was like clockwork. He had to listen to Bruno Mars to get himself like pumped up to do chemo. And um yeah. And I became the person that would take him all the time. It was very hard for my mom, and I could see that. Sometimes she would go and sit with him. But it was hard watching just the physical changes and um that he went through. And yeah, that was a tough time, but I do have good memories. I think it transformed our relationship. We now had a different relationship than we did when I was a child, because yeah, you go through those parts too where it's not always great with your parents. You have your differences because you're getting older and you're just like, you guys don't know anything. I did that, and me and my dad would get into these dumb little arguments. But this kind of brought us back together again, where we connected with music. And um, he would tell me things that I don't think he told anybody else in the family. And we'd share these stories and these moments together. And he would ask me what I really thought about what was happening to him, or if I believed in, do I really believe in heaven, and do I believe in God? And because my dad was not a religious man,
Mhm.
like we were Catholic, but he only went to church on holidays.
Yeah, Easter and Christmas, yeah.
And he was a man of God, like he believed in God, but he wasn't a church going. He didn't read the Bible or anything like that. But yeah, we started having these really deep conversations about what happens in the afterlife and where do people really go. And he got to a point where he wasn't afraid anymore as to what was going to happen. So after that, it became harder for me to go back to California. Music was really not a priority at that point for me.
Mm.
Because then I saw my mom in her big house, now alone, after my dad passed, and she was depressed. And that was hard to watch. And she didn't want to move to California. She didn't want to do any of those things. She was like,
Mm.
no, I'm going to stay here. And then we all get together as siblings and everyone has the conversation of mom needs to sell the house and mom needs to move into a smaller apartment and do this. And she was like, I'm not leaving my house. And I was supporting anything and everything that she wanted to do because I
Mm.
didn't know what it felt like to be in her shoes, to
Mm.
lose your life partner. I just knew from being, from the perspective of being a daughter losing a parent.
Mm.
It's not the same.
Mm.
It's not the same grief and it doesn't feel the same. And I understood that. We started going to grief counseling together
That's good.
and it was great. We started journaling.
Mm.
Um, and I think it helped her a great deal and it helped me a lot too because it transformed my relationship with my mom.
Mm.
And it was like going through these different changes or experiences really helped me evolve as a person or just evolve as a woman because I had been living a certain life
Mm.
for a while and now I was having like these some trauma, some traumatic
Mm.
experiences, some real life shit was happening.
Yeah.
And I had to navigate through that and figure it out. And um, I look back and I'm grateful for all of the experiences I had, as painful as many of them were.
Mm.
But yeah, and so then at that point, I was still kind of going back and forth, but then I started going on that journey of healthcare too, and then before that's when the psychology thing came up, and I was just like doing all of these different things,
Mm.
and music was just literally on the back burner. I wasn't touring or I wasn't traveling, I wasn't singing anywhere, none of that. If you wanted to catch a performance of Tracie Spencer, you'd have to come to the house and hear me singing in the backyard or in the house. But I wasn't performing anywhere. I wasn't even writing. I couldn't even, that was blocked.
Mm.
I couldn't even have the ability to write a song.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So fast forward, during COVID, then my mom gets diagnosed with lung cancer and not a smoker, any of that. She had some health issues, but nothing that would have, um, would have made us think, oh, she's going to get lung cancer. Like, no, nothing like
Mm.
that. So in 2020, the year before she was having some issues, but it wasn't until that January of 2020 that they confirmed that that's what was happening.
Uh-uh.
And it was like the same thing. They're like 12 months.
Wow.
And you're like, no, like this cannot be happening again.
Mm.
I was definitely not ready for that. Um and she she only did chemo because we asked her to. I guess
Oh, wow.
she didn't really want to. It wasn't something she really wanted to do. And she wanted to be here. She just didn't want to have to fight so hard to be here.
Mm.
It's like she worked in healthcare. She saw people. She saw my dad go through and see how chemo changed him.
Mm.
And it was a difficult process. And she even, my mom's a big believer. She's, my was a woman of God, but she also was into alternative healing. So like Reiki, she was into that. We were going to a Reiki healer, doing stuff like that, and which actually helped her get through chemo.
Mm.
Um, it helps take away some of the side effects. But watching my mom change too was very difficult. And I went through a period where then I started to compartmentalize everything.
Mm.
And Tracie no longer existed.
Wow.
I had a goal, or I became a different person, and it was literally 24/7 taking care of my mom, making sure she had everything she needed when she needed it. I don't recall sleeping for a year.
Mm.
Like, I do not recall actually having a real sleep,
Mm.
because after she went to the ER a couple of times and then decided she no longer wanted to do chemo, we put her on hospice
Oh. Mm.
because she wanted to be in her home. And um, I slept next to her in the living room for the remainder, and I do not recall sleeping. I think I stared at her most most of the time when everybody else was like, "You need to go to sleep. You need to eat." And I was like, "I'm good. I'm good. Like, don't. Let me just
Mhm.
figure this out." Because I was trying to prepare myself or figure out how different life was going to be without both parents. When you're super close with your parents,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what that was going to be like, and I couldn't wrap my head around that. And so when she passed, that same feeling I had when I was 16, 17 with the depression all came back to me again.
Mm.
And this time it was maybe 10 times worse for me.
Mm.
And I man, I owe my sister a lot, because I tell her this, and I don't know if she even takes it seriously, but she really did save my life, because um, after losing my mom, she was the next thing that I was super close to. Me and my sister have an amazing relationship, and I yeah, nothing else really mattered to me. And she tried to pull me out of it. And I remember we did like a sister vacation, and I had just told her, I said, I don't know if I really want to do this life thing.
Mm.
It's like, I don't know if it's not that cute to me anymore. I
Yeah.
don't know if I want to do it. And people say that, you get concerned, right? Even though I pretty much make jokes all the time, and that's what my family knows me for, just kind of being silly and funny.
Mm.
But my sister looked at me like, that's not very funny.
Mm. Yes.
This is not a joke. And so she was very worried about me leaving her and not being around a lot of people. And so it became everyone calling me all the time. Are you okay? What are you doing? Where are you at? Pick up. Everyone went crazy. Like, where is she? And in a state of panic. But I got to a point where I just didn't really think I wanted to do this anymore. And that's a horrible place to be in, a horrible place to be in.
Yeah.
And so I went to, I had enough people telling me, go get help. And I called my doctor, and she found me someone right away. And that was a blessing, because I'm still seeing her. And, you know, I I'm okay with talking about stuff like this because I think it's important because, again, mental health is extremely important and it affects all of us.
Yeah.
And it's nothing, especially women, men of color, it's
Yeah.
important to discuss it and not pretend like we don't
Mm.
have stuff going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in a better space today. Um, and I'm a much happier person. And yeah, but has this path been easy? No, not at all.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I appreciate you sharing that, because it is, during the pandemic, a lot of us lost our loved ones, and
Mm,
and um and I started this during the pandemic. My dad passed away, in a hospital, and caught
mm,
COVID in a hospital. So that it's he was 77. He was fine going in. Caught COVID, doesn't come out, and so there's but having the space to be able to share how challenging it can be is really to help others to think, actually, I'm not alone. And
mm,
so that's why I was really appreciate everything you were saying is really important and powerful, because a lot of people think they're alone and think it's just them, and don't realize that there is help out there. And doesn't matter if somebody says, "Oh, don't," you have got, what would your family going to miss you and stuff. But when you're in that place, doesn't matter what people say. If you want to go, you want to go. And it takes skill to be able to, like, listen and then try and walk you through it, as opposed to trying to tell you all the things you're going to miss. So it's,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
No, you're absolutely. I can tell that I've come a long way because even though my eyes tear up when I talk about it, because it's it is sad to ever get to a point where you feel like that. But the fact that I can talk about it and I don't completely fall apart anymore means I feel like I've made progress.
mm,
Um, that it wouldn't have been the right thing to do. And, you know, that my story isn't finished yet. I still have a lot to do while I'm here. And plus, it's not our choice or our, to make those types of decisions for ourselves. And my mother and father would have been highly upset at me.
yeah.
They would not be happy. So, you know,
Yeah,
um,
well, especially if you've just made the dean's list in the fall. They're like, come on.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And how many other lives are you gonna help save when you qualify and start working as well? So there's still so
yeah,
much more. There's still so much more. Um, what got you back into singing? Because I think most of us, um, started to see, um, well, it is Shanna, Elle, and Sinise, and then they all said, "Oh, look who we just bumped into." I mean, how did that whole reunion thing just so? Because it just felt like one day we, Shanna and Sinise are posting pictures with you, and the next, you're performing with um, not DJ Clue, DJ and D Nice. So how
at
did
the
how?
Kennedy Center.
Yeah, so how did the whole coming out of the woodworks just happen?
Um, that to me, it still blows my mind when I think about how that all happened because I literally had no intentions. It's like you always, even before my dad passed, my mom passing, or just other people in my life who know me, who would
Mhm.
always go, you're not giving up singing, like you are gonna sing again, right? And I would go, you know what? The one thing about music is that you don't, once a singer, you're always a singer. So when
Mm.
people say, you don't sing anymore, it's like maybe not professionally, I'm not recording an album, but I'm still a singer. It's just who I am.
Mm.
Um, so I hate when people would say stuff like that because I'm like, that's not the way to say it. I am a singer, but I don't feel like explaining this to you. So when I made that decision to go back to school, which was probably around spring, where I started kind of looking into these programs, and I just said, oh, I'm just gonna do it. And once I started getting everything organized, and I remember it might have been a roll back a few months before that, like around the holiday, around Christmas of, oh, what years is 24,
Yeah,
22?
2022.
Yeah,
Okay.
around 22. So it was a year after my mom had passed. And I was like on Instagram, and I would always do that, just see what other people are doing, or look at people's page, like a low key
Low
stalker.
key stalker like this.
Yes, I had like this bogus Finster page and or Finstagram, whatever you want to call it, like a fake Instagram. And it was my face, but you couldn't really tell. And I'm like holding a cat, and it was like my oldest niece, her cat. And I was following like really no, maybe a couple people. I want to say I'm following like Kamala Harris and maybe Jared Leto. The weirdest combination of people to follow. And I was stalking people, and then I started thinking, God, it would really be nice to like reconnect with Shawnee's, who I knew had been looking for me
Wow.
because other people had told me they had either seen on Twitter at the time, when it was still called Twitter, that she was posting pictures of her and I,
Wow.
and asking people like, if you've seen this missing girl, please let me know. And I was like, what? And then I remember searching and finding some of these posts. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, well, how do I do this? Because I was like, I don't want to create a Twitter page. I was on Facebook at one point. I got off of Facebook, and I was kind of taking a break from social media.
Mm.
So the fake Instagram was literally just to stalk people. And then I started thinking about Shauna because she was part of Southpaw Management, and they were like
Mm.
my last management team for the It's All About You project. And so found her right away on Instagram, found her page, and I like DM'd her. I'm like, hey girl, it's me, Tracie. She's like, no, it's not. And then I had to think, oh, wait a minute. We're in the era of people pretending to be
Yeah.
other people, find AI. Like, girl, totally forgot technology is not the same. So I'm trying to convince her it's me. And then she's like, you know, I said, I'll take a picture of myself in real time. And then I was thinking, well, that could be AI too. Like,
Yeah.
none of this is working. And then I was still in this headspace where I really wasn't had it or was really ready to call people either. I was kind of just in my little bubble.
Mm.
And then we just kept kind of communicating. And then there was something, I think she asked me, like, say something that only you and I would know. And then I said, had to think it through. And then I said something, and she was like, oh my God, I think this is really her. So then she runs into Shanice at Shantae Moore's birthday party and goes, guess who I found? And she's like, I found Tracie Spencer. And she's, hit me on Instagram. And Shanice is like, no way. And how did it happen from there? Um, oh, Shanice then starts leaving me messages, and I'm like, I'm gonna call you like this weekend or whatever. And I kept putting off calling her. It was weird. I think unless you've been through what I've been through or
Yeah.
something similar, it's kind of hard for people to understand, and
Mm.
without them reacting, going, I don't understand. Why you just call people? Why didn't you do that? And it's like, you
Mm.
don't understand the amount of trauma
Mm.
and just that I had gone through and going through dealing with mental health stuff, that it it's not that easy,
Yeah.
you know? And I felt like, am I ready to start telling people what's been going on? Do I want to do I want to relive all of this stuff? And
Mm.
um, so all that went through my head. And then it was, I even went out to California. I didn't contact anybody. And then it wasn't until that following summer that I finally was like, okay, I'm going to call people. Let me see. Let me
Uh,
see how this works. And I reached out to Shauna. We started talking. And then I come out to LA because it was my birthday month is in July. Shauna's
okay.
birthday is in July. And um, she coordinated everything. I mean, God bless Shauna. She hooked up meeting up with Shawnee's, and I went to Shauna's house, got in a car with her. We drove out to Shawnee's and um, out to her area, um, hooked up with Howard Hewitt, all went to dinner. And it was like a family reunion.
Wow.
It was the best day ever. And yeah, and then before I left, it was literally not even, it was just supposed to be me, Shauna, and
Yes.
Shawnee's. And then I get to her place. And the next thing I know, Shauna's like, well, guess who called me? And I'm like, who? She's like, Elle called me, and he hardly ever calls me. And I told him, guess who's coming to my house? And he said, I'm on my way and I'm bringing a keyboard. And she's like, okay. And then Darius calls her and she's like, oh, Tracie and Shanice are over. And he's like, I'm on my way. Like, these people had never been in her house. And all of a sudden, we had everybody in her house. And yeah, Elle showed up. We had a birthday cakes to celebrate me and Shauna's birthday. She had other food brought in, and we were just like hanging out. I brought my sister's oldest daughter, my niece, Michaela. And yeah, next thing I know, Elle shows up, hooks up his keyboard, and we're all singing together. It was the most surreal and magical experience ever. But and that was literally the first time I actually sang in front of other people, and I don't know how long.
And you know the world was watching.
The and me being oblivious to
But
the
you didn't
fact that
realize that we were all watching.
everyone's gone Instagram live. I'm oblivious to what's happening, like I had been under a rock.
Yeah, it was
And
a magical moment watching, I mean, for me to interview Elder Barge for almost an hour and a half, it was magical, but because I
yeah,
told him how special when he sings, it's almost like he's in the presence of God and because he just gets lost in song, but him
yeah.
singing and everyone joining in, and then you're there looking like a puppy with a headlight. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? Do I sing now?
Yeah, I was like, what is happening right now? I felt like I was 12 years old again. I really did. I just didn't, I couldn't believe what was happening.
Wow.
It was the wildest thing. And then after that, Sean is like, girl, you need to get a real Instagram page.
Yo, is that when you did the official Tracie? Okay.
I did. And I was scared.
Wow.
I was petrified because I told Sean, I said, nobody cares that I haven't been around. Like, I was
That
like,
was
no one, that was just the way I thought. I was like, no one's gonna get on my Instagram and be like, oh yay, you're back. They're gonna say, oh, that was cute and that was fun. Thanks, guys, and then move on. And she was like, I don't think so. She's like, I don't think you understand just the impact you've had on some people's lives. And I
Yeah.
said, I'm not really aware of that.
Mhm.
And even though I've traveled, I've done concerts and people have cried and I've had these experiences and you just go, I'm normal. Like, why are you crying? Like, this is weird. Don't cry. But yeah, so I couldn't wrap my head around that. And so when I did it, and then all of a sudden she's like, girl, you see all these people on your Instagram right now. And I'm like, what are they saying? Are they saying they hate me? And I go away. She's like, no, read it. And I was like, I don't want to read. And everybody was so nice and had the most beautiful things to say that my heart was full. I was overwhelmed. And I think I remember crying reading some of the comments, and I
Wow.
just couldn't believe how, or what people were saying, and that people were actually watching it and in real time and replaying it now,
Yeah.
and then going, where have you been? What's
Yeah.
going on? We're glad you're alive and you're okay and you look well. And when are you going on tour now? And I wasn't ready for it.
Wow.
And then, so yeah, then I started, oh yeah, then Shanice had mentioned to me, she said, I even was trying to find your brothers. And she said, then I even contact Soul and I asked him, like, have you talked to Tracie? And he's like, if you find her, let me know because
Wow.
nobody can find her.
Wow.
And so when she told me that, because we had such a good relationship, that I was like, oh, let me like reach
Message.
out to him. I think I like liked something on his page, and he was like, she did not just like something and not thing. And then he left me a message, and then yeah, and his phone number, and then we started talking. And his reaction was the same thing. He's like, if anyone needs to know how to get off the grid,
Yeah.
like here, they should call you. You should write a book about how to remove yourself from the planet, because he's like, nobody does it better. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, I do know how to disappear if I have to.
Yeah, but I mean, as I said, you went through quite a lot, and it was good that you had your time to rediscover yourself. And you can't do that in a public space. It's impossible, and people aren't ready for an hour, 2 hours of listening. They just want the quick stuff and like, oh, I was recording undercover albums and stuff, and they think that. Um, but then how did the whole
Yep.
Kennedy Center, D Nice? I mean, that's taken a, you're just coming back out of hiding and you're now performing with D Nice, who, you know,
Well, yeah, that was wild too. Then um I don't remember. I think he realized, well, in this industry, you always have mutual friends.
yeah,
And I think someone who's might have been, I can't remember who it was, but I think shared that with him, that I was on Instagram. And then he reached out, or they connected us together on Instagram. And he was like, hey, I'm doing this thing for the Kennedy Center and I'd love for you to be a part of it. And I was like, in my head going, that's amazing. But I haven't been on a stage
wow,
in well over 10 years, that I was like, I don't know if I can do that. Like in my head,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
wasn't sure. I was like, what does that look like? How do I do this? And then um I was like, where's there to be, what is, to be afraid of? I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like, this is what I do. Like, get it together, girl, get it together. So yeah, I was like, yes, I'll do it. And then from that was a very tough experience though too, because I remember having a moment of the day of the performance.
Mm,
I went out there and or flew to DC, and my sister was gonna come, and then she wasn't able to. And so I went there by myself, and I knew
wow.
Shanice was going to be there. So I was like, okay, at least she's going to be here. I mean, she's family. Um, but I remember the next morning before sound checks, I woke up and it was raining and I was laying in my bed and I had my computer because I had homework to turn in. And I woke up and I just said, I can't do this. And I couldn't get out of bed. I was stuck
Mm,
and I freaked out.
yeah.
And I start calling people because now I do things the right way. I call people and I think, yeah, even one of the people I called was So Shock. I even called and I needed people to talk me off the ledge, like, and tell me it's okay, you can do this.
Yeah.
That's what everyone said. They were like, I said, I just don't know if I'm ready to do this. And, everybody's like, your, mom and dad are there with you. It's going to be fine. You can do this. And I got it together. And when I saw Shanice, though, it was like a weight had lifted
Mm.
off of my shoulders when I saw her and her daughter, Imani, like off to the side of the stage. And she's like videotaping me during sound. And then I felt better. And yeah, and then I got through it and I was excited. And then after that one performance, I was like, yes, I'm ready to do this again. Put me on a tour, y'all. I'm like, where's my next show? Where's the next? I was ready. And then we got the offer to do Sherry Shepherd's show.
Oh
So,
yeah. I mean
yeah.
that's national. Yeah. But you're
So
also
that's
doing. Go
exciting.
ahead.
No, that was exciting. So for me and Shanice to do that together too. So then we went to New York. It might have been a month after the Kennedy Center, and we did
Wow.
that together. So yeah, it was the end of the year. Like last year, just became it was full of surprises. Me reconnecting with people, me having an Instagram, which I was just like, there's no way, and to doing Kennedy Center, doing a show, reconnecting with people, and then yeah,
And
it's been great.
this next week, Valentine's, you with Christopher Williams and Elder Barge?
That is Eldebar, yeah, in Baton Rouge, it's Eldebarge, Glenn Jones,
Christopher
um,
Williams?
Alexander O'Neill. Christopher Williams is March 30th with Sean
Okay.
and Tony Terry and Karen White.
I've interviewed all of them.
I mean, crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Karen is my favorite. Yeah, I love
I
Karen.
love her. Yeah,
Yeah, I love Karen. She's so much energy. Tony Terry was the one who was telling me about the industry and how tough it was.
yeah.
Yeah, and then Elle, as I said, but you had a show that was canceled due to the weather just recently as well.
That was the one that got changed to March 30th.
Okay, they really okay, okay.
Yeah.
So how you balancing school and tour and the shows? Do you have to look at your diary and think, okay, I'm going to assignment so I can perform? Oh.
I do that. I tell people if you need me to be somewhere on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I can't do it. Anything after that, I'm available unless I have an exam coming up.
Wow.
So it's hard because I wear a few different hats right
Yeah.
now. It's like, the girl I am when I'm at home with my cat and and going to school. They're all different people.
Yeah.
They're all different people. The girl that's on stage is a different person. Yeah, my classmates don't even know who I am. I
Okay.
mean, granted, at some point the jig is gonna be up because someone's gonna find something.
Yeah.
But I even go by a different name at school.
What?
It's I'm telling you, I have multiple personalities. Probably not good for my mental health,
No, no. No, well,
but
you're an entertainer. Normally, entertainers have stage names, and then they,
that's
not many entertainers had their first and last name as their full, their real government name. Everyone.
Absolutely. So I just wear all these different, yeah, I'm all these different people. And um at first it was hard to really balance. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was saying it all the time. I was even saying it after the holiday. I was just like, I don't know how I'm doing any of this. And I think if I, don't overthink it too much, it's fine. Like
Yeah. But
figure it
then
out.
how's it like
And
getting the
I have to be
response? The response though, people you're on stage and singing after, goes to 20 years, people are still connected to the song. How does that feel as a just, after all we've gone through, you're singing and people are connecting to it and singing along with you. What does that feel like?
it feels like um I was always like I'm doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was born to do what, to be a performer, to be a singer. Um, because if it if I wasn't supposed to have made those choices, get on, be lucky, or I don't like using the word lucky because I don't really believe in luck, but be blessed enough to be on Star Search, to make
Mm,
the album I made, to meet the people I've met, to interact with so many really cool people, and um, to create these songs. Like I didn't know that I would write a song like Tender Kisses as a teenager, and for it to still be a song that people still resonates with people, or they still love, and they still say, girl, your music is on my playlist still.
yeah,
Then now I have a whole new generation who have discovered me because of Instagram,
yeah,
who
yeah.
were like, oh my God, I didn't know who you were. Like, I thought you were a new singer. Like, I don't know. And they're like, listen to my music. And it's amazing. It is such a blessing. I'm truly grateful. I do not take any of it for granted. I think it's amazing.
I mean, the golden question is always, would you ever come out with anything new?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So that's definitely something um I will be working on. I think I got to finish school
Yeah,
first.
of course. Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Let's put that away, and then I can focus on that, because we're also trying to work out a tour and a couple of other projects too.
Wow.
So I think it's inevitable that, there will be music,
Yeah.
um hopefully in the near future. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I actually appreciate the fact that Carsten Solshock reached out to you because he was probably one of my favorite guests I've ever. He's the most amused when he tells his story. Um, Not trying to be funny, but he was the most hilarious and in depth. And so when I said, "Oh, and yeah, how was it like working with Tracy?" He says, "Oh, Tracy, let me get it. I'll get it to you." I was like, "Wow, that's good."
yeah. Yeah, he called me right after, and he was like, you have to do this show. And like, I was just like, okay, okay. He said, no, 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 but it'll be one of the best interviews of your life. And yeah, he said he had so much fun talking to you. And I was like, yes. I was like, I just got to figure out when I can do, some things, because yeah, I try to not overwhelm myself and try to spread things out right now, or strategically do certain things so that I don't get overwhelmed or burn myself out. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do that. But yeah, no, he was telling me right away. He like sent me your Instagram and all, and I was like, okay. And I was like, wait, I do remember him. I was like, he did hit me before. And then I remember Shauna talking about you. He's like, you have to do it. You just have to do it. And I'm like, okay. That's how, how he is. He gets very
Okay.
so excited.
I hope it hasn't been too bad today.
No, it was great. It was absolutely great. I enjoyed it. It was great.
I always ask all my guests as I end that if you were stuck in a lift and you had to watch your favorite film, what's your favorite film?
Oh my God. Well. This is tough because I have a very eclectic I like all types of movies. But ooh, that's a tough one. It's gonna be somewhere between, and this is gonna sound so weird. And I know it's either gonna have to be a James Bond film, preferably with Roger Moore.
Oh yeah, I love Roger Moore.
Love me some Roger Moore. Or it's gonna be Boogie Nights.
Oh goodness, Mark Wahlberg. Okay, that's a went from one to
Last classic movie. Or here's just my third option, Staying Alive, John Travolta.
okay.
I just watched it 4 days ago. It is literally something I watch maybe twice a year.
So would that be your all-time favorite movie, or which would be your all-time favorite?
Staying Alive, you know, that and Flashdance are probably my all-time favorite movies because watching Flashdance, um, I felt like I saw myself in her
Mm,
watching her. Yeah, and I find it to be, even though when you watch it now, you go, oh, it was kind of creepy because the
age.
guy that she fell in love with was way too old, and she was like 18. I was like, oh, it's kind of parallel to my life because there are lots of old creepy men. Not that I can fall with, but it's that same, very similar. Yes. Um, so yeah, but her just trying to prove to people that she was, you know, she could, she was the best, or she
Yeah,
could compete with the best, and
yeah.
she came from literally having no training. And it's not
Mm,
like I went to Juilliard or performing arts schools. I came from a small town in Iowa and I went to a Catholic school. My parents didn't have that much money and they
mm,
worked really, really hard. And um, I end up getting a record deal with a major label and have seen, travel the world and seen things that most people may never see or get to experience.
yeah, it's
So
interesting.
maybe that's why I like Staying Alive and I like Flashdance.
Right, that's well, you got signed to the
Yeah,
label that had the Beatles, Elvis. So that's no small feat.
no, not at all. Not at all.
So I know you mentioned earlier that Diana Ross was your favorite singer, but what's your favorite song? Because the other second part of the question is always, well, they're about to put on a movie, but we're going to play your favorite song before the movie starts. And what becomes your all-time favorite song?
Ay, ay, ay. Oh boy, the pressure.
I thought everyone had a favorite song.
Huh?
I thought everyone had a
You
favorite
know
song.
what? I do, but you know what happens is it's not something you sit and think about like all the time. You just go, "Oh, I love that song," or "I love that," or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. But I would, I would have to say, um, probably Casanova Brown by Tina Marie
Wow.
was by far one of my favorite songs because when I was little, it was also a challenging song for me to sing, and I would sing it and sing it and sing it until I could sing it
Wow.
like her. And that's why people like her and Diana Ross and even, Whitney Houston, I think kind of helped shape who I am as a vocalist
Hmm.
because there's elements, or just even as a performer, because there's elements of them that, just they carried themselves with so much grace and um they were just beautiful women. And I'm not just physically beautiful,
Yeah.
but just inside, like their spirit and when they performed or just their personalities. And I always wanted to be, as as a little girl just growing up. And my mom was very much like that. My mom
Mm.
was very, had this old school, very kind of, I don't know, Hollywood vibe to her too. Like her hair always had to be perfect. My mom never really wore makeup,
Mm.
but she always looked like she had makeup on. She had really pretty skin tone, and um, she was super petite and um, always just, I remember she used to wear gloves.
Wow.
Yeah, she had this whole vibe like when she was, younger, and when she had had my brother, my oldest brother, like she always had this vibe. She used to wear pin curls and she had a whole vibe. And then after 4 kids, you're just like, I ain't got time to do all that. But seeing her like that and then seeing those type of women, I just like, I just want to, I have so much respect for them. And so just all that, they were like, they were just like the epitome of what beauty and power and being a real woman was like to me. And so, yeah, Casanova Brown, um, Billie Holiday's Good Morning Heartache are still songs that I will play more in the summertime. Like if I'm sitting outside sunbathing, having a cocktail, you'll hear Tina Marie very loud in this house, diner, or you're going to hear Billie Holiday, and people are like, "What old man lives in that?" It's like it's just me walking around in a sarong and a bathing suit with a cocktail, thinking I've transported to the 1940s. I don't know.
Yeah, you tell me about Tina Marie because one would think that as a white woman singing R&B, that there would be a sense of, hey, well, why is she taking our singing our music? But then but when I talk to a lot of female artists who admire Tina Marie, they see the fantasticity of what she did and don't even think and remember that she's white. They just know that she was just an amazing soul singer. Is that, did you just bypass the fact that she was white and just saw the talent?
Absolutely, because that's just not something that was a focal point and just even growing up in my family. And I think
Mm.
it's because of us being a mixed race family. I don't know, it was just color was not something we focused on or really talked about. And so if I heard music or saw someone, actor or singer, the last thing I thought about was the color of their skin.
Mm.
And I didn't feel like when you would listen to her, I didn't feel like she was trying to be someone that she wasn't. It felt very authentic. And I think by the time I met her,
Oh, you
um,
met her. Wow.
I finally met her in, oh, this was before I was 20, maybe I was around 20. And she was doing a concert in London. And I remember being in London, and she invited me to her concert. And she was the nicest human in the world.
Wow.
She um, had all these wonderful things to say to me, about me. And I'm just sitting there going, girl, you understand, you are one of the reasons why I do what I do. Like, I literally wore your records out. And yeah, she was like calling me her little sister and
Wow.
in awe of her. But yeah, when you meet her, then you do realize that that's just who she is. This is, there's nothing, her it's not manufactured. That's,
Wow.
Tina Marie is Tina Marie is, and I felt like that when I met, Diana Ross too for the
Oh, you
first time,
met
which I
her.
almost, I met her and almost passed out, but I don't even think I really said anything, and I will regret that for the rest of my life. But I do hope that I'll get to see her again. But yeah, I think when I met her and it was in New York at a party for her, and I don't even know, I was just like, I really want to say, I think I looked at her and said, I want to be you, or something so weird. She was probably like, get this girl away, get this child away from me. But yeah, because you're meeting people who mean so much to you and literally help you find your voice. Like they helped me figure out who I was as a vocalist. And yeah, Whitney Houston too. By the time I met Whitney Houston, I almost passed out on that too. And
Jesus. Did they know who?
yeah,
Did they remember you from being? Did they know who you were when they?
yes, Whitney I met for the first time was at the Billboard Awards, and she invited me into when she was getting her hair done so we could just talk. So I was like sitting there and she's getting her hair curled and we're just having a random conversation and I'm literally like ready to, poop my pants basically because I'm just like, bro, I'm sitting here talking to Whitney Houston and she's talking to me like this is normal. And I'm like, none of this is normal right now.
Oh goodness, yeah. When Soulshock was saying that when he met Whitney and she said, "I like the song," and he just put his head down like, "Oh my goodness, this is Whitney Houston," and he felt like a kid.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
oh good.
It's wild. It's wild. But yet she, all of them are they're normal people. They're
Mm,
just, it's not like they were trying to be someone else. They were very authentic, being their authentic selves when I met them. But I don't think there's anybody else in the world that I would ever react that way to at this point. I mean, unless Marilyn Monroe was still
oh
alive.
yeah, you did mention Marilyn Monroe or Billie Holiday.
Or yeah, Billie Holiday came over. Yeah, but
But had you met Elle before the night at Charlie's party?
you know what's funny? We were trying to figure that out, and then I realized no, I had met Chico
Oh,
yeah, a couple of times because I remember we even did shows together, and I found
oh.
a picture of me and Chico DeVarge together, and I think we're wearing our hair the same way. We look like brother and sister because I think we both had our hair slicked back in ponytails, and I had
Oh.
like some little curly things. He had the same look, and I'm like, look just alike in this picture. This is so weird. So no, that night we were trying to think about it, and I was like, even Elle was like, I don't think we've ever met before. And I'm like, I think we've probably been in the same spaces, but
Yeah.
never like um interacted or anything. So no, but seeing him was, it had I had felt like I had known him all my life because he's
Yeah.
just personality too, where
Yeah.
he
And
makes
then you're singing it. I mean, as fact, the fact that he seems to wear his heart on his sleeves when he sings any situation. So just watching you guys all sing in that magic moment and stuff. Yes.
yeah, yeah, that was an amazing experience.
Well, I mean, we can't wait to see more amazing experiences of you on stage. I've uh,
Mm.
I've really been blessed by your time. It's been a blessing hearing your story and your journey. And one thing I don't focus too much on the music because I was mainly the life journey is really the most important part because, as I said, everything and my hope is that somebody listens and draws inspiration and draws encouragement and that's the biggest thing that I get and so I was really appreciated how open and present that you were today. So thank you very much for your time and everything.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad that we got to do this. And yeah, no, this was good. It was really nice finally meeting you and talking to you. This was fun.
Yes, thank you very much. And you know, you mean it's been 3.5 hours, and I'm sure you probably didn't expect to be sitting
Are
down
you
for that long.
serious? Oh my gosh. No, I did not. I know when you talked to Soul that he said, I think it was, you guys talked for almost 3 hours or something too.
So his was
And I
three and
was
a half
like,
hours, yeah.
it 3.5 hours. I was like, we're not going to talk that long. Yeah, right. Oh my God. Yeah, because I'm sitting here and I'm looking and it's dark outside now. So, when
Yeah.
we start, there was
It
sunlight.
was, it was so like the same thing happened with, and it's not that because I'm not hounding questions. it's just like just let you talk and I'm listening and it's I know I don't really prepare lots. I have the only benchmarks I have are the albums when you release them and talk around that, but it's just really listening about your life and so yeah, you know, so that's hopefully it's always a space. The day I interviewed him, it was the day of Max's birthday, and I think his father, the anniversary when his father passed, and he didn't realize until the end that that was all happening on that day. But it was just me listening to him
Yeah,
telling his story and stuff. But definitely, yeah, definitely can't. Oh, I just noticed the guitar. Do you play? Oh, what was? Is it the prop or?
I do no, it's a real good. I do play. I'm not going to play, but yes, it is a real guitar, and
it's, let me tell you, I started writing and playing again around the time my mom got sick. Because I used to play
Okay.
and then stopped for a while. And then, yeah, when my mom got sick, I went and bought me another guitar. And I said, I'm going to start writing and playing. And yeah, I was doing that for a little bit. And then I go through these spurts or these moments where, I'm trying to get myself back there again. And uh, now with school, it makes that much harder because trying to find time between studying and then do that. Because even right now, I'm always like, oh, I got to put time aside to go to the gym, do vocal exercises, rehearse my my songs for my shows when they're coming up, and then and my classes are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they're like 4 hours long. And then I always have tons of homework and tons of reading. So literally trying to even find a minute to just do that. I try to do that on a Sunday because Sundays are literally, I try to make that a day where I watch church online. I meditate a little. I try to make time for myself.
Yeah.
And I even try not to get on social media that much. Sometimes I may post like one thing, but for the most part, I try to avoid um, be like social media. And I'm trying to find a balance for
Yeah.
myself. Like I do, create a healthy balance as I get back into doing this, music again or whatever. Just I don't want myself to get overwhelmed or feel like I don't have time to do these things because I have a show to do and I got this to do. I need to go into a studio. I don't want to live like that. I want to be able to um, enjoy life
Mm.
and make music, go to school, and just maintain my peace. You know, yeah,
Yeah. And you can get
that's a
consumed. But it'd be great if, you just recorded, you get your camera and recorded, you play. Can you play Tender Kisses and with your guitar?
I probably could and I haven't, but you know what? I'm going to work on that. I will work on that.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. I mean, because
And then I
that
will put it on my Instagram.
yeah, you'd be surprised. I mean, because you do want to mix it up in the show. You just bring out your guitar, like, oh, well, Tracy comes out and you just play it and, just in
That
acoustic
that
version.
that is something I've always wanted to do. I do have that is definitely something I've thought about where I was like, I would love to be able to do an acoustic set in my show at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Imagine would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, but
it would be cool.
yeah. So Tracie Spencer live, playing with her guitar, you mentioned Tracy Chapman, you could, yeah, that would be interesting to see you do it. So hence that's the motivation
Yeah.
to put in the practice to play your own stuff. And then you can say,
Yeah.
this is a song I wrote a couple of years ago. You probably haven't heard it, but hopefully you like it, and just playing one of the songs you were writing when you were with your mum, and all of a sudden it just becomes really natural and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
That's the goal.
you
I'll get
definitely get there. Well, I've kept you. I mean, it is 1:45 in the morning. Luckily I'm on leave tomorrow, so well, the morning, yeah. So it's 1:45 a.m. here in the UK. But
Nice.
it it's been great to finally talk to you and to hear your story. Um, and yes, we'll be following with interest and stuff, and I'll be, keeping in touch and yeah, wishing you and supporting you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
that.
Well, Tracy, thank you very much. We've covered everything that I think we can. Everyone should look out on your pages for shows, upcoming shows.
Mhm.
Baton Rouge with Elder Barge, and then rearrange stuff in March with Christopher Williams, and hopefully some other tour dates as shows as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And
That's yeah. Hopefully I'll have a bit busy summer.
yes, busy
That's cool.
summer. And if
Yeah.
anyone has a heart attack in the audience, you pretty much can come out there really resuscitating.
I can get the defibrillator and I'll bring
Yeah, yeah.
I'll do everything in my power to save your life.
Well, they
This was
said,
that I should call my tour saving one life at a time tour or something.
yeah,
And I was like, girl, that's ridiculous.
yeah.
But
Well, you've got a song that says "Save Your," it's called "Save Your Love." But hey, I can save your love, because I can save your life, kind of thing.
save your life.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, goodness. Oh, well,
That's
I
funny.
appreciate it, Tracy, and yes, yeah, but I'll, yeah, definitely be keeping in touch and following, and I appreciate your time and everything.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank
Okay. Okay.
you.
Well, I'll let you go. It's yeah, we've got 3 hours and 20 minutes, so it's 10 minutes shorter than
That's
Constant, but it's a lot. So, yeah. I do wonder, and I don't know
yeah.
what it's like when you're sitting down there, whether you felt the fact that you've been sitting down for over 3.5 hours. Does it, you don't even recognize?
No, I'm glad I didn't even think about it today because then I would have had more anxiety just thinking about it. So no, this is good that I had no clue that we would be talking for almost 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I never planned to talk 3.5 hours. I don't, I'm thinking here, okay, I start at 9:30. Maybe it should be 40 minutes and stuff. But when a guest talks, I'm there listening. I don't stop and say, "Oh, okay, we've reached that time." So, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's never. Yes, I said I don't come with a timer and stuff. I think my longest interview was with Tammy Lucas, and it was 4 hours. Um,
Wow.
but it was just listening, and that's pretty much what it is. It's not. But I'm, as a therapist, you're trained to listen, and I enjoy listening. And it becomes
Yeah.
easy not to be non-judgmental, to be able to draw out just draw out the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not out for sensation, like, okay, what happened there, and it's about life, and so yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes, okay. Well,
Well,
I could keep you on forever, but I will let you go and keep in touch.
yeah, I think I need to find food now. So I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Tracy.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that kind of.
And somewhere in between
us for even loving us, on which I didn't miss you with.
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.
trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No. Okay, you okay?
They don't understand what Jonas Boys and men and all spirits.
Lay it.
And all these guys, they all work together.
I mean, I love all different genres.